Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the final discussion of the main story of Mushoku Tensei, the light novel that is, where I have been reading through for the first time, in that I have already read the web novel and now I'm reading the light novel for the first time. And I am joined by Jarkey Bacon, who I used to say is a complete anime only who knew nothing of this grand story of Rudeus' entire life, but now he has read all of it, Bacon.
It's the end.
Yeah.
It's Jova, everybody.
Yep,
This isn't happening ever again.
pretty much, yep.
Oh, so sad. Oh, we're not all sad. Sad folks here, aren't we?
Yep. I mean, you know, we're done with the main story, but there's a bunch of other stuff. We'll get to that at the end of the video. I'm sure we can talk about it, but...
Really?
Yep. Bacon?
We can watch the manga next.
True, yes. Which I think they're up to, what,
So, okay.
like, Norn's shut-in incident? That's the last I heard about it. I don't
Oh,
know.
really?
Yeah, maybe they're past that now.
Mushoku Tensei manga. So, what I've heard, I already saw the memes on the subreddit, because, of course, you finish it and you have to go.
Mm-hmm.
And like see all the stuff. See, because I finished it, so I'm able to go watch all the videos, all the stuff. Turns out I still got stuff that I can get spoiled on. So,
Yep.
Oh well. But yeah, it's got 104 chapters out. What was the most recent chapter? Let's see.
Let's see if you can identify it.
Okay, it's Lilia. This looks like the this is the continent. What is it called?
The Bagarit continent?
The Bugatti continent.
Jesus, Bacon. Yep.
Yeah. Rudy has already just broken through a random wall.
Mm-hmm. So he's saving Roxy, it seems, I'm guessing.
No, Roxy is here.
Well, I got no
so
idea.
I think they just saved Roxy. They just saved Roxy. Doesn't that happen? They come out and they're having a chill. Yeah, it seems like a new scene. Okay, this is a scene where they're back to back in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
And these chapters are pretty long. I mean, art looks okay. I was going to say something. I went back to have a little look at all the art that's been done, and the same artist has done all the light volume novels, and he's done even more art and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, it's really impressive their growth as an artist. Like the first few cover volumes look a bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like some of the if you compare even
stilted, but
like the earlier illustrations compared to like the ones in 26, it's like, whoa, this is pretty cool. But Bacon, we haven't even said it. What do you think, Bacon, about these last two volumes, 25 and 26, the end of Mushoku Tensei? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I guess I haven't. I guess I haven't. Good. Unsurprisingly, I don't know what to say. Good.
Well, okay, let me probe you then. So, firstly, did it feel satisfying? Do you feel like did it wrap up well or not? What do you think is it in terms of an ending of the story?
Yeah, no, it's definitely a good ending. I think there were enough questions left unanswered, but I wasn't like, oh man, we're not getting like Prugius isn't like confirmed to be killed or anything like that. I don't think. It's just kind of assumed that that's going to happen. So we don't really have like we're not having like those scenes.
Yep.
We don't really see Nanahoshi go, but then like she would go after Rudeus dies. I think the post. Yeah, no. I mean, this might have one of my favorite chapters in it.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I'd say it is very satisfying. One thing like maybe I'd take away from it, like, and this is more of just like a heat check. Ari, are you aware of the void, the concept of the void, the feeling you get after finishing something? And it's just it's a feeling that I think I first felt really majorly when I like binged all of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood in like 4 days. Then afterwards, I was like, "What do I do with my life? I got nothing."
Yep.
And it's actually a feeling that I, what to say? I like look forward to now. The feeling that something can make me feel that I know is special. You know.
Sure.
And sometimes I'm just like, oof. And it's almost like unnecessary. It needs to take enough of my time to really, really make me want to, just get so invested. And this is one of those things. And I think I didn't feel the void. Like I finished it at night, and I was like, oh, well, that's over. And I'm not being like, oh man. But that's because I think, Ari, you've made me have to not binge it all in one go.
Yeah, sure.
I reckon that even for like Villain Saga, when that's over, because it's been stretched over for like I've been up to date for like 6 years or 5 years at this point.
Mhm.
So yeah, it doesn't really. It may not affect me in the same way. So
Mhm.
you may have prevented the EliteAri, but anyway, I'm just saying that as like maybe that shows I wasn't as invested or whatever. I would say yeah, the ending's pretty good. And it's very satisfying. And 26 is probably my favorite volume cover. Like I opened
Oh,
up this.
nice. Yep.
I opened up the final one. I was like, oh, oof, I can't look at this yet because I don't want to know who lives. But then I came back and looked at it
Mhm.
after everything, and I was like, oh, it's so good.
Yep.
Oh,
Very true.
it's amazing.
I think it is
So,
also
yeah.
my favorite volume cover. And you know what, Bacon? I also think it's one of my favorite volumes. I really like volume 26. But yeah, I guess we'll get to it when we get to it.
I forgot we did 25 for a second there, but
Very true. Okay. Well, is there any other? I guess because we can say all the overall thoughts here. I guess before we go right into it. But any other things you want to say about Mushoku Tensei as a whole at the moment?
we'll get to that later, I think.
All right. All right.
But yeah.
Well, let's begin volume 25, Bacon. So I guess last time we finished off with what did we finish off with? I think let me see. I wrote in my notes. Ogre God Malta attacked the Orsted Corporation, and then Zainoba was like, we need to go to the monument, and everyone's like, we're all going to gather, and everyone is converging in the same place, and I think that's where we left off. So now, we open up with Sandor's perspective. Oh my gosh, Bacon. First, his name changed from Chandel to Sandor, pretty crazy.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty cringe.
That's a really weird translation thing, but either way, Bacon, crazy. Firstly, let's talk about it. What do you think about the Sandor reveal? He's obviously a major character in this. You were on the edge of your seat.
I felt very dumb. I felt very stupid because Alek Sandor, and like I knew the first guy was called Alek. I think did I? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, right. So I was like, man, I'm dumb. Tier 1 dummy. Did I make any notes on this? I did. I didn't make some notes on the first one. I said it was cool. He seemed to understand that. Oh yeah, it was cool to see like he understood that Doga went down there after Rudy, which was cool. Like he like sussed out all the footprints, but he was also like Sugoi Ruijerd. I'm like, ooh, what does this mean? He's like Sugoi Ruijerd, but then he's also like, man, I need to be cool. He's very confident.
He trusts Doga a lot. Like he sees the footprint and is like, well, he's gonna be okay. You know, Doga's there. We'll be fine. I was like, oh, look at this, cute.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I have to say, Sandor was the highlight of these volumes for me. I remember liking him quite a bit, but I think he's one of my favorites in this kind of stuff here. So it was really good to see him.
Yeah, no, he had a lot of really cool moments. Grew on me a lot. And there's a lot of strong feelings there from him. So it was good.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I didn't make any more notes. It's cool. Like, what's something like he's very smart. He knows what's going on. I mean, there's a couple bigger moments later down the line, basically. Yeah.
I think the biggest appeal of Sandor is how likable he is. I think he's like a few. How do we even say it? It's like a few different tropes, like all bundled together. He's like the wise mentor who's like lived the life and has made the mistakes, and now he knows the better way, to live a life now. He's like a father figure at the same time, kind of trying to have. He's like having, he's trying to teach his son lessons here. What else is he? He's kind of like a I don't even know what this trope would be, but like kind of like a Ruijerd, where he's like he's silently protecting people, if you know what I mean. Like he's always there to kind of like jump in when he needs to. I don't know. I like him a lot. He's a lot of fun and a very likable guy. Anyway, so this first bit, he finds the tablet isn't working, the communication tablet, and he realizes something is wrong, and he's expecting an attack that never comes. So he like walks out. I think he like power walks out of the city or something. Everyone's looking at him, and he's going. He expects that someone is behind him. He like yells out, "It's like I know you're there," but no one's actually there. Pretty great. Then, Bacon, your hopes and dreams were crushed, because immediately, the next chapter, we had Rudeus and the Man God meeting again.
I knew because, like, okay, I think, my mood was a bit dampened a little bit because I saw Rudy on the front cover. I was like, oh, okay. This is going to get resolved quickly. But then I guess it was absolutely fine because it was like, I mean, I think what was cool initially was like, oh, he's talking to the Man God. what? He's talking to the
Yeah.
man god? Crazy. You see the man god like this. I think, yeah, there's a lot of cool man god moments in this.
Absolutely. This is the
Yeah.
most characterization of the man god that I think we get the whole story. Yep. But yeah, this is the man god is not happy this time. He doesn't have his cheerful laughter. He doesn't have his smiley expression or anything. He's just like he's angry. You know, he's like die. He's like not happy. He's telling Rudeus to die and everything. But yep, I don't really know what to say here. What is this? He talks. My one note I have is that he talks about how initially, in his future vision of himself, he just sees that there is Orsted alone that is going to face him, and he always wins. In that the man god always wins. But the more that Rudeus just does things, no matter what he does, every step he basically takes, there's more people that are added to Orsted's side. There was like one person initially, and now there's like a whole bunch of people. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is really cool. Which is like foreshadowing to what happens in 26. You know, like, oh, okay, who are those people? And then he also says, I thought there's another reveal where like the man god says he spends most of his future on looking at his own future. So he doesn't have to look at three people, but he's so self-obsessed that he needs to see his own future.
Absolutely.
Pretty interesting. And then he just says it also just gets darker and darker. I don't know if that's like literally like he just can't see as well, or yeah. And then I was like, is this Nanahoshi, the first woman? I also think it's also like said that it was a toast box that Gal struck in his strike, basically.
Yes.
And that caused, which I mean, to be honest, it's kind of one of those things like Mushoku Tensei, like Chekhov's gun, and it doesn't really set them that far up in advance. So it's like, oh, this is one volume beforehand. I wonder if it will save a life. It's like Roxy gets protected by the necklace. Rudy has the King Scrolls, and they all get used up within the volume. So I'm sure someone could complain about that, but I'm not going to. I was like, well, that's convenient. Anyway, these arms are cool though. So yeah, that's kind of how I went on with that. That was pretty neat. He's got these like kind of like venom arms. I'm thinking.
Pretty much, yep. They have a mind of their own. They're pointing toward things and finding their way out of this little trap, or not trap, I guess, but this little
that was
place
cool.
that they're stuck at the bottom.
And it was like Doga just like takes down. You're like, because I think the last one was like Doga is probably a bit useless, isn't he?
Yep.
It's like North God Emperor takes down an Earth Dragon one shot.
Yep.
Just one shots all of them. But the issue is that they're stronger when they're looking down on stuff, and they couldn't get out, which I thought was interesting. And so then they had to find like a glowy place. And what was this place again?
Well, there's some implied lore here, right? I guess it's kind of implied, because Rudy talks about how they get to this smooth stretch of floor, and he theorizes about how this probably means that whoever made this kind of led the dragons to this place in the world. And he thinks about how there was stories of how Laplace would have done these like types of things, and he was the one who introduced the dragons into the central continent or something. And it was like, oh, but that means that maybe Laplace walked on this path or created this path, and maybe that's related to like what this like place that we're going to, which like has these kind of interesting crystal balls and stuff. Like, what is this? What is Laplace? Isn't it crazy how we just never firstly we never really met him. I mean, we never ever met him. He's like the Chekhov's gun that never went off. Like he was the constant threat, and we just never met Laplace. Kind of crazy. I think it's a very bold decision. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because I think, like I thought. I mean, I kind of doubted it ever since it was like 80. I was like, we have to go really far in the future for it to happen. And yeah, it seemed like. I think what I was more surprised by is that I didn't see the fight of the man god. I thought, okay, we'll beat what's his face? We'll beat Badigadi quickly, and then
then a time
beat
skip.
Badigadi, or like I don't know. Or would they kill him now? I guess they wouldn't. Anyway, like it's interesting. Yeah, they don't really show Rudy doing much when he's older. I do like the bits where he is older, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things to say. One is that clearly by the end of this volume 26, it's clear now that this story of Mushoku Tensei is the story of Rudeus's life. It's not the story of like the six-faced world or whatever this world is. It's purely the story of Rudy from birth to death. That's basically what this is. Even the epilogue, which is about like kind of about Rudy's reincarnation and all that. This is all about Rudy. Now, just like some, I don't know what you know, but there's meta stuff basically, like which I've heard about, and I obviously have never verified this myself, but people say that the author is going to work on a sequel series to this after he's finished working on what he's currently working on, which is like I think it's like a manga or something. But he does have plans to make a sequel series, which will follow the characters, I think, into the Laplace War or into the future. But that won't focus on Rudy. That'll be like a completely different story. That's one thing. What else was I going to say? Story of Rudy, future stuff. I don't know. I don't think I had anything else, but yep.
He's working on a novel called Orc Erotica.
It's kind of sounds like that, I think, but I don't think it's erotica. There's no way. I feel like I'd remember that.
Hang on. Sorry, I put the art. It's how do you say that?
It's probably some Japanese word. I don't know.
And this is orc.
Let me have a look.
EROICA.
Orc Eroica. Something like that.
Eroica.
I don't know.
So I just assumed. I just read it because I was like, this is Mushoku Tensei's author, so.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking at the. Well, I'll be honest. I'm looking at the front cover of these, and it doesn't seem to dissuade my my thoughts. Oh, okay. It just looks like how you have guts.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, is this just like a Mushoku, like a Berserk ripoff? It's got guts as an.
I mean,
orc.
It might be a parody or something.
You've even got Puck there. Yeah, I feel like it's a parody of some sort. You do have a witch, but she doesn't look like the witch girl. And then you have just some blonde lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems like it's mainly guts. Seems horny.
It probably is. I'm sure it is. But yep, Bacon crazy. There'll be a sequel one day, I'm sure. How exciting. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting because I had this whole theory. I mean, yeah, maybe we should actually just talk about stuff, and then we can get to the end because I feel like we're talking about stuff that we should talk about at the end.
Okay. Well, the thing is,
be here forever.
Okay, there's at one point. Maybe we can save this to the end. We have to talk about Rudy's character, because obviously he's a very controversial character, and now we have the whole of his characters we need to talk about it. But I guess we can save that until the end to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Doga saves Rudeus. The hand guides Rudeus. We said that. Next up, after they get back to the Supered village, we get the North God Kalman reveal. So he talks about how he hid his identity, so the man god was less likely to detect him, but also because he wanted to have a really cool moment where he could like reveal his identity, and that kind of got undermined, But yep.
Yeah, it's
North
quite
God
funny.
Kalman.
The theatrics. I didn't realize, and it's not like, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like, it's interesting to see because there's actually really different types of North God style. There's not like a wonder. It makes sense, but like you have the eccentrics they call, which is what all bears and all bears.
A perfect name.
I feel like more is the is a true North God style. These guys just seem. I don't even know what they're really doing. Like that's that different. They just seem to be swinging a sword.
Well, I think it's like you have the two
crazy dog moves.
No, you've got the two super regimented styles in the Water God style, which is all about defense.
Yeah.
You got the Sword God style, all about swift, like one attack, basically. And then you have the North God style that is about versatility, I think. It's about like what Sandor says, at least from Sandor's type of North God style, where it's like it should be able to help warriors who are otherwise like, I don't know, disabled or injured or something, or aren't the typical kind of warrior. It should be able to provide them with a fighting chance, allow them to survive. That's kind of his philosophy on it, which I think is really interesting. But it is divergent from people like Orba who are like do anything to win, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that was a very good meme on the subreddit where it was like the gymnastics one was a little guy and he's like sword style and they zoom forward from one side of the map to the other, and then Water God style, which is like they stay in the same spot, and then it's like, have you ever seen like the mental gymnastics meme basically?
Yeah.
And then the final one is North God style, and it's just like him doing all these random tricks to get to the same spot.
Yep.
It's kind of funny. I would say, yeah, it was interesting going to the subreddit because I don't know how much you should judge a fandom by the top of the subreddit, but I mean, there was some good stuff. There was some very funny stuff. There was one where Orsted was doing a dance over Rudy's body, which was hilarious. I mean, yeah, if we went to the villain subreddit, I guess it would seem pretty homogenous and boring. What is the top of it? So,
well, let me say, Bacon, there's two subreddits. I wonder which one you went to, because there's Mushoku Tensei, which I think is, as far as I understand, it's not moderated, I don't think. And it's like a very inactive subreddit, my understanding at least when I would go to it. And then there's
Oh,
Six-Faced World, which is the one like I would look at if I wanted to look at anything. And I think that's more actively
okay.
moderated, and like that's where I would look at discussion threads when the
So
anime was
yeah,
out and
yeah.
stuff.
There's only one moderator on this thing,
Right.
and there's a couple rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking at all this stuff, it's like, oh, someone's got a tattoo of Roxy and Eris.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you get that picture of Eris of Roxy in your body? But fair play, mate. Well done. But yeah, it seems like basically. I mean, that was a really cool Norn cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just horny pictures. Well, not horny pictures, all of them, but lots of Roxy, Eris, and
Yeah.
Sylphie stuff, which I thought was interesting. It's like, are these the main characters? I mean, like, there were no pictures of male characters. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Well,
There's
it
no
makes me
cool
wonder.
Orsted stuff.
It does make me wonder how the influence of anime, right? Like, what would this subreddit be like without the anime? Because it does, especially,
Exactly.
for instance, before season 2, I would imagine a lot of this stuff would be about Eris specifically, right? Because she was the big, like, love interest focus of the, like, main character, I guess. And I think, like, back then, there would have been a lot more fan art of her specifically. But these days, now we've met, like, Sylphie, and Sylphie's had, like, a bigger role in his life. And now we have, Roxy, which is starting to get introduced again. I feel like as the anime goes on, maybe it'll change a bit what the community is engaging with, but yeah, the anime probably has a big influence.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I just went on Six-Faced World, and its most upvoted thing is like a really cool, like, mass cosplay of loads of people.
Oh wow, okay.
Like, it's like every single character. It has Paul, Ghislaine, Cliff, Unanalyze, Linnea Priscina. Like, it has everybody in it. It has Ruijerd. Does it have? I don't think it's Orsted in it. No, is that Orsted at the back? I can't quite tell. I feel like I'm offending them now. But yeah, there's
Okay.
it's like everybody. It's like it's a bit weird because they're all Japanese. Like, but you can't do much about that. So yeah, let's have another look. Yeah, I don't want to like be. Oh my gosh! Don't look at this community. I just want to see like, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know how much to talk about this now or later.
We probably should talk about it later.
Yeah,
we can talk about this all at the end. Just one more thing before I forget. I do think personally, I'm not actually at all in this Mushoku Tensei community. Like, I don't actually go to the subreddit. Very rarely I go to it. Mainly it was just when the anime came out. But also, I think a lot of people are on the Discord specifically. Like when I remember when I was looking for the web novel translations, a lot of people on Reddit would point to like the Discord and be like, "Oh, you should go to the Discord. That's where like all the stuff is." So I kind of feel like there's more of a Discord community than a Reddit one. Anyway,
yeah,
we'll talk about
I'm
this
not sure how I
afterwards.
feel about Discord.
Yeah.
In general, Discord. I mean, yeah. Look, for clarity, I am a mod on r/Vinland Saga, and I'm also a mod on the like subreddit Discord. I just know that like, and there's good stuff there, but like Discord can devolve very quickly, and it's kind of hard to keep on top of stuff. But yeah, the Six-Faced World one, yeah, I mean, one of the top posts is a Be Like Cliff appreciation post. So yeah, maybe this is more of a subreddit for me.
Yep.
I think it's pretty based.
All right. Bacon.
Yeah.
Let's not get too distracted here, okay?
Sorry.
So we were just talking about
discussion. That's what we're leaving you guys off with.
These poor people. They're like, I'm here for the volume, not the Mushoku Tensei subreddit that I
okay. Well,
on.
let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
There was a thing where Perugius just didn't help, and I just typed very magnanimous Perugius, and I was like, yeah,
he's got his reasons, okay? Magnanimous doesn't mean that he is like he will do anything for you, okay? It means that just like, he sometimes goes beyond the things that he has to do, not all the time, but sometimes,
and he did help out big time in the end, to be fair. So
absolutely.
This is before, but as number one hater Perugius, which I'm not really, but as number one hater Perugius, yeah, bad move, mate.
We're not up to that yet, Bacon. Okay, so ever since, what is this? Oh yeah, Eris and Ruijerd reunite, Bacon. Oh my gosh! After all these volumes, they're finally together. And it's a very uneventful reunion, which I guess kind of makes sense. It's typical Ruijerd. Ruijerd never says anything.
This is the Leaf Thorfinn equivalent in season 2, where it's just like
completely
skipped over.
No, it's not.
Like, well, okay, this could have been a lot better, but okay.
We do get some stuff here.
To mix that. I don't know why you choose to skip over that. Like,
Mm-hmm. What, over the... Are we
Yeah, I
talking
don't
about
know.
Vinland Saga here, or Mushoku Tensei?
Mushoku Tensei. I feel
Oh,
like he
no,
could
no,
have.
no. I
Anyway,
think they did well. I think it's in Ruijerd's character, and also I think that they do get enough here, which is that we hear that from Eris's perspective, she's like, it's like going to her old master now. She sees Ruijerd, and
yeah,
she's not going to behave like herself. She's going to behave like the person that she basically. There's a very good line here where it says, "Ever since Ruijerd had recognized her as a warrior, Eris Greyrat had been a warrior." And it takes you back to turning point. No, yeah, turning point two was 1, 2, I think. Yeah, it was definitely 2, where it was like her 15th birthday, and Ruijerd was like, "Eris, you're a warrior now," and it was like a big thing to her back then because she had earned the respect of this mighty warrior from her eyes. And it just like even just this one line about her like behaving differently because she remembered back then when he acknowledged her, and it's like she didn't want to. It says so as to not embarrass herself, she had to behave in front of her mentor, and I was like, oh, this is very cute.
yeah.
But yeah, it's a small interaction, but it's like I think there's enough here to be like, you know
We
what,
get
I like it.
good. We get good Eris Rudy stuff later, so it's okay.
Yes.
It's
Oh my god, we
forgivable.
do. All right. So then we have the Perugius mention here. We get Sandor extremely excited over Perugius being mentioned. He stands up. He's like, oh my god. He doesn't say anything, but he stands up and looks around, and no one else is excited when Perugius gets mentioned. So he sits back down, and it's like, oh my god, look at this. Sandor likes Perugius too. We love this. And he basically places a lot of stock in Rudeus. Not Rudeus, sorry, Perugius. He says that like if Perugius was to join us, then like it's gonna tip the tides of the battle here. Like he is a what do you even say? He's like a fanboy, I guess. Not of just Perugius, but like a few things in this, like Ruijerd and Perugius, and he like basically looks up to his father's generation, right? They say that a few times, which is cool. You know, he's old, he's the wise person, but at the same time, he's not. He's like a kid who's looking up to the people above him.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Then this is also basically just to say how I've structured these notes. I've just gone through, and as I was reading, I would put a little bit of recap. But there's a lot of fighting coming up. Okay, so we'll get to that. But firstly, Orsted gives us some Malta characterization, or I don't know what they said, that Marta or something. I think in the light novel, the ogre god basically, and he says that he's a decent guy who wouldn't harm non-combatants. What do you think of Malta, or whatever you want to call him, Bacon?
Absolute Chad.
Yeah, true.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess it was more later when he's actually in the fight. Bit sad when they died. Actually, not gonna lie. I was like,
Sure.
oh.
He's always the one death. Everyone else survived, but he's gone. Oh my god.
Everyone else was chilling, and he was like, sadly, this guy wasn't immortal. Rippo. I was like, okay, geez. So.
Yep. Pretty crazy. And he was so nice.
Yeah.
Like he's probably like of all the, the people who were fighting for the main god, he was the nicest, He did it to, to save his people. He's like, good guy. Anyway, talking about main god apostles though, I think something that's really interesting. Okay, we can talk about it now. Okay, now that we've seen the whole thing, we've finished the story. Like I've said before, there was a big change in the way that these light novels did something, which is that they showed us Geese as he was forming his plan. I think there were 3 chapters, probably more, honestly, but actually there was definitely more. But there was first we met the North God Alexander. No, first we met the Sword God, then we met the North God, then we met Badigadi. We had a few chapters with him. Basically, we saw where Geese's plan was going. So when he shows up here, we know exactly what he's doing, right? Like we know that Badigadi is coming because we've met Badigadi and siding with Geese. So it's not like a reveal when like, oh my god, Badigadi is the final villain, which is what I was feeling when I was reading for the first time, right? And I think it also takes away from the build-up of like, where is Geese? Because this whole time when I'm reading through the web novel, I don't know where Geese is. I haven't seen him since the Miller stuff. So this whole fight is happening. The Sword God and the North God have like taken down Rudeus, and I'm thinking like, where is he? Like he's still out there. Like we're not done. And like we can beat the North God, we can beat the Sword God, we can beat everyone who's coming for us. But where is Geese? Like it's like a mystery that's being built up basically. But here it's very different because we kind of know where he is. He's with Badigadi, right? Like we haven't seen him yet. I don't have anything to say, I guess, beyond it was different.
I guess the intended feeling is, on one hand, it may just be like more fan service and extra content for the sake of it. But if I was like as writer, you could be trying to give dread, because I feel like I would have guessed that like Badigadi's the bad guy, or going to be the final big boss. I wouldn't have known about the whole Golden Knight stuff. That would be maybe a bit surprising, but and maybe like I don't think I would have guessed the North God Emperor. I don't think I would have guessed Alek, but I may have
Mm,
guessed Galfarion,
sure.
but like definitely would have guessed that Badigadi was the big bad because Mushoku Tensei, as I said before, is very much a series that like once it name drops something, they're probably going to become relevant. You know,
Yes.
most likely there's. I mean, maybe I would have been like, "Oh, is Laplace going to be here early?" That's probably something I could question over. And I do think that scene later on when they are on the beach and he's just like, "Turn off your eyes, Rudy." That was cool. It was like, "Can you
Yes.
not see him?" Um, that may have been a cooler moment if I didn't know it was Badigadi and stuff like that.
Mm.
I
Cool
mean, it's hard to know,
illustration.
of course, right? But I guess I wasn't mad at it. Maybe I didn't. Maybe Mushoku Tensei would be an 11 out of 10 if it didn't have all this extra stuff and I read the web novel instead or something like that. But we'll never know.
I mean, yeah. Let me
Yeah,
say,
it's
Bacon,
interesting.
though, I appreciate this much more, this version. I was very glad to actually know where Geese is, because in those chapters with Geese, we got so much Geese characterization that I've just never had before. And it just makes his end much more impactful to me. So I've really
Yeah,
appreciated
it's
those
true.
chapters, actually. Yep.
Yeah, what was your feeling? So do you dislike Geese or were you like confused about Geese or what?
No, I mean, so in the web novel, firstly, it's been a long time since I've read it, so I could just be completely wrong. But there is like we got a lot of Geese in the story. Like even just until 21, like we've had him firstly in like volumes 6 or whatever. We had him in the Begarit continent stuff with Paul, and we had him in Millis. And to me, all that stuff is enough to characterize him. Where I feel like I understand him well enough as a character. And I feel like I personally I just thought it was like it was fine. Like I when he had his speech at the end in the web novel, I understood what he was saying and it was good enough, I think. But just to get more of it is like it's always great, I
But
think.
did you hate him? What was your emotions towards him? Do you like be like, "Hey, Geese, why did you do that?" Or
Um
whatever?
I honestly I cannot say, Bacon. I can't remember. Um I think it's pretty similar to what I felt here, which is like, well, actually, you know what? No, it's not. It's not the same because I felt something very different here and very strong here, which is I didn't feel the first time. I don't think. I don't know. We can't. I can't put my mind back like 3 years or whatever when I read this Bacon. Who knows? It's lost the time. Okay, that's the conclusion here.
Okay,
Um, yeah.
I
Anyway.
see.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay. Geese. Where is he? Who knows? Everyone. Oh, okay. So this is the beginning of the fight, basically. So the whole army has come. They're on the other side of the ravine-like thing, and we have our guys on the Supered village side. And Alex steps on the bridge, and then they destroy the bridge, and he falls down. And it's like, oh, okay. Everyone's just amazed.
Dude,
Like, I can't believe you fell
I
for this.
laughed at this. I audibly chuckled.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, it's like falling to the ravine. I typed even house. He's getting back up real quick. I'm sure
Yep.
I was like, he can run on the back of the behemoth, so I'm sure he can just like ninja his way up the wall or something.
Yep.
But I didn't know why, which is cool.
True.
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to say a couple things. I feel like if I feel like there's a lot of Dark Souls references here, or like maybe I'm just so Elden Ring pilled, but I'm like, oh yeah, Badigadi, he's like Radahn. And then Alex, he's also like Radahn because he's got the gravity magic with his sword. But then I also thought that it was like, have you played Dark Souls?
No,
Have
only
you played
Elden
Elden
Ring.
Ring? Well, in Dark Souls, there's a very famous duo boss where it's basically tall, big guy with a hammer and fast, short guy with like I think he's even got he's got like a lion head as armor, which I think Alek also has. Which like so it's like Ornstein and Smaug basically was like Doga and Sander. I think Sander has a lion for a helmet. Does he not? Or maybe not. Maybe I'm
I'm not
making that
sure.
up. Someone had a lion for a helmet. Maybe it was the golden armor or something. But anyway, it was one of those things where I was like, oh, this is like I was like just making all these connections, which probably aren't the case. So
I mean, I would definitely buy it, right? There's a lot of game references throughout Mushoku Tensei, almost all of which I don't understand, but Rudeus is always making connections. But I'm sure
yeah,
I'm sure it's a Dark
I
Souls
mean,
thing.
and it's not just like weird Japanese ones as well, which I thought was interesting.
Oh my god, there was a Yu-Gi-Oh reference about Exodia. That was
Yeah,
pretty crazy. Oh my gosh. I understood that one, Bacon. I usually don't understand these references, but that one was for me.
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, yep, he falls in the pit.
Hodabari.
Yep, go ahead.
I just realized something really cringe.
Oh
I've
no.
got the top post of all time on r/Vinland Saga.
That's awesome, Bacon. Congratulations.
Do you know what it is?
of some like mod action thing where there was some drama or something. I don't know.
It was a controversial thing, but it's nothing to do with being a mod.
About Kettle, something Kettle related.
Yeah, it was my Kessel meme.
Oh, well
that's
done.
really sad. Why is that I didn't realize it's the top post of all time. Anyway, so I just checked it. Sorry, I'm derailing. I'm off form, guys. There's so much to say, and I want to say it all now, but I have to wait. I have to bottle up.
All right, let's keep going. The fight begins, and I have another quote. Bacon, I have so many quotes in my notes here, so you got to get used to this, okay? He's the first.
This better be the quote that I quoted. Okay.
All right, I don't know. We'll see. So I said, man, I'm getting emotional. And I said, there was one more of us. He didn't say his name, but beside me stood a brave, battle-hardened warrior with green hair and a white spear in his hand. 3 of us reunited, Eris, Ruijerd, and me. The 3 of us were going to fight together. Dead End was back.
Back.
Oh my god.
Yep. That's the one I could. I was like, oh, let's go. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Oh, Rudy, actually, you need to fight this guy. So I'm like, Dead End is not back. And I was like,
yep.
But it was a very cool moment.
Yep, absolutely. But Bacon, from here onwards, there's just like a lot of fight stuff. I don't even know how we're going to talk about this, but I guess just generally speaking, it's an impressive amount of fighting compared to how much Mushoku Tensei usually does fighting. Like these 2 volumes are basically like, it's probably, if you combine them, it's almost like a volume and a bit of just pure fighting. It's like a marathon as well. It's not like you've got like, you have different types of battles, right? You've got one-on-one fights that we've had, and the prototypical example is like the Orsted fight in, volume 6. Then we have like the grand scale fight, like at Fort Karen, for instance, or for instance, fighting all the fight. Well, it's not really grand, but I was going to say the fights like in the Azura Kingdom in 17, where it's like a bit grand scale, but I guess that one's not quite. Then we have this one, which is like, this is this goes for a long time. Like this spans multiple days, and it's constant fighting. And it's also not like, actually, I guess it is constant fighting, but it's also like tactics and stuff as well. It's very different, I guess, from the rest of the story. But I appreciated it. Yeah. I was very engaged, which usually I'm not for fighting.
I would say the duels are good as well.
Sure, yeah.
They read well, it flowed well. I was able to follow well. I feel like with action, it can be hard to write, frankly. But I thought that was strong character moments in all of these.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was some really awesome moments. I do think, the Badigadi one, like it had the possibility of going on too long, but they had some extra moments in there that helped be like, like help kept it interesting and being like, oh, he's not just taking all the damage, and it had good pacing, being like, oh, we gotta fall back, and it was smartly written.
That Badigadi fight had one of my favorite things ever, Bacon, in fighting. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get to it. Anyway, so Alex jumps out of the ravine. Oh my gosh, Bacon is alive, like you said. And he has his sword in his hand, and he gives a big theatrical speech about how he's gonna slay the cursed god of evil Orsted. And he has the big, he has Kajakut, is what I've written. The King Dragon Blade, the strongest sword in the world with gravity manipulation. It was, I don't know what to say. It was cool. I like the way it was described, where it's like, he has like an ultimate attack. Everyone gets like flung in the air because of gravity, and like, what do you do when you're in the air? There's nothing you can do. Like he uses the gravity to like do all acrobatic stuff, and it's cool. Cool sword. What do you think, Bacon?
Yeah. I found Alek to be an annoying character, which I think is good.
Sure. Yep.
Because it made moments with him pretty cathartic. So yeah, it's good fun.
Yep. Okay. He has an interaction where he sees his dad, and he's like trembling. He's like, "Oh my gosh, my dad." Pretty cool. But that's all that. But then we get our first actual big fight here, Bacon. We get Eris and Ruijerd versus Gal Farion. So there's a lot to say on this one.
There's so much.
Yeah. Let's see. So he has like a bit of monologuing. He talks about how Gino got stronger to marry Nina. He basically chastises Eris, like he's mad at her or disappointed in her for, basically he entrusted his dream of killing Orsted onto her, but she doesn't even remember that or like even never even cared about that at all, about his dream. So that's, I don't know. Gal's he's a guy. He got disappointed in Eris here. I don't know. The confrontation, what is there? The actual fight is very slow. They talk about how Eris is basically, she has like a high stance and Gal has a low stance, and she's slowly approaching. And if anyone else is looking, they have no idea if they're actually moving, but no, they're slowly approaching. Let me see, what else I got? When she's in range, she does a sword of light, and Gal counters it and places her off balance, and he goes for her neck, and Ruijerd saves her. That's the gist of it. But what else can I say?
I think so. It was make this fight felt like a fight that you'd find in Vagabond, where you'll have two people standing across from each other for a while and kind of out like trying to think about what the other person's doing and take time on it and all this stuff.
Yep.
And it kind of comes down to one strike. And here I think, it was really cool because like Eris is fighting her master. The first time she goes to the Sword Sanctum, we see how it destroys her, and now she's seeing if she can beat him. And I love like Ruijerd coming out of nowhere and just like being like he's like her shadow, which I think is a really cool like combination of two people. But that he's got this spear and he's able to deflect. But it's interesting because because he used the water style tactic, it was slow enough for Ruijerd to see, therefore he could intercept it. And Galfarion would have won the fight if he just trusted his sword god style, but because he had been beaten by Gino, which I think is funny because Gino's like got a picture later on at like the end of the like next to Nina, and he just looks like the most NPC looking like character, which I think is hilarious. But it's like when Gino beat him, it was like Gino genuinely got strong because he like Galfarion said, "Oh, you can't marry my daughter," which is quite funny. It's quite intimidating. I mean, I wonder if Gino turns back up because I feel like anyway, it was interesting. It's still clear that like Eris was outmatched. I
was gonna say that to me, the way I wrote it in my notes is that. And what I find just so interesting is that Gal loses this fight because of two things: his insecurity and his broken confidence. Basically, on one hand, the insecurity is like a brief line we get, which is after we got like this description of how like he did like this water god move and whatever, and he after when Eris was off balance, he went for her neck, and then Ruijerd stepped in, and then we get like a little bit of like internal monologue from him where he's like, if only I was using like he says something about if only I had a sword or something, like some other sword or something like that, or if only I'd in any other circumstance I would have hit him or he would have killed her or something. And it's like a little bit of his insecurity where he's like, he can't believe that Ruijerd blocked the strike, and he's trying to cope with it, even though he probably would have. He's probably right in his coping, but it's still a very cope kind of thing where he's like in that moment he doesn't think about what am I going to do next. He just thinks about like, oh, if I was like at full strength, I would have got it or something like that.
Well, I think he also like says if I just took this guy seriously.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But that's one hand, the insecurity. The other thing is obviously what you said, the broken confidence, where it's like the reason he didn't use a sword of light is because every time he like thinks of using it now, he flashes back to when he had the ultimate confidence against Gino, and Gino embarrassed him in front of everyone. And he's like, I can't do it now. I don't have the same mentality now because of that one embarrassment in front of everyone. I think it's really cool. Yep. But it's a quick fight. Eris cuts him in half, basically, and he gives some dying words. Let me see, what have I got here? He said, I met a woman, then had a child. I trained my students while I was hung up on crap like what a sword god ought to do. I went dull. Eris, I always knew you were something. You stayed strong. I thought you'd been taken in by love, but you're free. You're still free. The strong live free. I like that. His arm fell. And he gives Eris a sword.
He kind of blames the fact that he had Nina the reason why he lost as well. Why he wasn't stronger as well. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I guess. I'm trying to think, how do I think of Galfarion here? This was like an interesting speech where it feels like this means more to him than to us as the audience. Like he's talking about being free, and like he likes that Eris is free now despite having like people that she loves. And I feel like there's more to him that we never see. But yeah, I don't know. It's cool. He didn't have a villain monologue at the end. He gave a nice like, oh, I kind of...
No, I really like this. I really like this a lot.
Yep.
Just because it was, it's authentic and, it was interesting. I think it just kind of... Galfarion had some stuff where he like said, oh, Glenn, you would be a sword emperor by now, or whatever. Or something like that, right? Like if you hadn't gone away. And it's like, basically, he lost Well, like he has a midlife crisis, and the reason why he dies is because he wants to affirm his midlife crisis through his strength, right? And the
Yeah,
thing is, I
sure.
don't think we learn anything about his wife or like where she is or whatever. Like
No,
we only know Nina. So yeah, I don't know. Like there's something there, but I think yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it's kind of sad. Which
true.
one is interesting. So
Yep.
yeah.
Eris uses the one magic spell that she remembers from Rudeus teaching her back in the day. She uses Fireball to burn Galfarion's corpse. Cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yep. Now,
Don't want him
Sandor.
coming back.
Absolutely not, no. Sandor and Alek have a conversation before their fight. Alex is basically, or Alek, I guess, is hurt that Sandor gave up the North God style and passed the sword on to him. We learned that Sandor had the sword for 100 years and he decided that it was too strong and he wanted to give it up. And now he uses his trusty staff, I think is how they described it, right?
Yes. It's
Yep.
just called the stuff.
Yep. This is where we hear about the eccentrics like Orba. What else is there? Alek. This is also where we get the prime motivation of Alek here, where he wants to be remembered as a hero and outshine his dad. But he's kind of got it all wrong here. He's got it a bit twisted, and he wants to kill the Superherd so that everyone sees that he defeated the devils. Even though he knows they're not devils, he knows that everyone else perceives them as devils, so he wants to be a hero in their eyes. Very cool. I think it is kind of cool just how much he wants external validation. That's all he wants. He wants people to see him as a hero. He doesn't care if he actually is one or what a hero is. He just wants to be seen as one, which is cool.
Well, a hero is someone that is perceived to be a hero. That's it.
Yeah, true.
That's what he probably thinks.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, so how did I may be forgetting already, but how did Sandor? What was his motivation when did he just want to fight people? Like, how did he become it? Did he stumble into becoming a hero in the end?
You mean back in the day?
Yeah, back in the day.
Well, I think he wanted to be like his dad, right? He wanted to like, I think that's what it was, right? Like there was like a whole thing on it. I don't remember at what point it happens, but he talks about how his dad was like a legendary hero, and I think he just wanted to be like him. That's vaguely what I remember.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see if we get to it. But anyway, speaking of father and son, the father and son fight, Kalman 3 and Kalman 2. Kalman 2 is more predictable, I guess. That's what Rudy notices. Alek notices that Rudy has his grandmother's arms. That's always fun. I was waiting for this. The entire Ryback family is here, basically. I guess later on with Badigadi,
Which is quite
well.
fun.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But also, yeah, fun.
Yeah, it makes it quite personal. And I think that's what makes Sandor interesting in the end, because, his son dies and then doesn't die, which is happy. But then his mother also seems to die.
Yep.
And then,
but it is fine. She'll show up. Yeah.
She'll show up.
Oh, and not just fight his uncle, but like his uncle looks down on him and is like, oh, it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's like, it's a bit more demeaning side of Badigadi than we're used to.
Yeah.
Badigadi is normally a man of the people, I feel like.
Yeah, but here he is fighting God Badigadi, okay? He's not just Badigadi.
Yeah. Unlike Perugius in his little castle going, I need to be by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Chad, Badigadi is like, hey, let's go drink. I'm going to have fun now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
It's Kishirika's influence, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Anyway. Who is he? Who's in my notes? He's sad when he finds out Gal died. Oh yeah, Alek. Alek cared about Gal. That was kind of funny. He's like, oh, I was looking forward to fighting Orsted with him. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
That was really cute.
Alek maybe is not such a bad guy. Maybe we should have him on our side. Wouldn't that be something? Anyway. He
not really.
No. He finally uses his big final attack. It has two hands on this big blade, and he uses the big gravity thing. Everyone floats in the air.
Yeah.
And Rudy basically saves everyone in the last minute. He uses a big sonic wave, pushes everyone away. The stone of absorption to counter the gravity magic. But everyone is basically knocked out. I think Sandor might also do his work here to save Eris and Ruijerd. But they're all basically out of the fight temporarily, at least. And Rudy's the only one who survives. But next up, now we have the description of Ruijerd and Eris, what you were saying before. So he countered, but all his counters were rebuffed. That was Ruijerd. Every time Alek tried to exploit a hole in Eris's defense, Ruijerd swung his spear and stole his chance. Ruijerd had become Eris's shadow. No matter what misstep she made, so long as Ruijerd was there, she had no weaknesses. It's pretty awesome.
Ooh. I think it's also interesting. It's like, yeah, Ruijerd can keep up with the North God style, fine.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is the legendary hero Ruijerd. My goodness.
Yeah, I think I was like, dude, I thought he'd be like out power scaled this fight, but actually,
Mhm.
no, that's not the case.
If
Everybody
any,
just out power
yeah,
scaled by Orsted. I thought that was what I was thinking at the end of
that
this.
is very true.
But during this, I was like, man, Orsted's doing well. I was like,
Mhm.
didn't know if I knew he'd do that well, but
Well, imagine if he was fully healthy here and he wasn't sick as well. That'd be pretty crazy.
oh, crazy, yeah,
Yep.
man, yeah, he's pretty ill.
Yep.
But I think that's more reference that it's his endurance that could give up, not necessarily his
Yeah,
ability
true.
here. He's working at full capacity, just maybe not as long.
Hmm. Yep. So this fight is, we have basically, this is an interesting, I like this fight. This was one of the better ones, where we have Alek is basically fighting everyone. We have Alek on one side, and we've got Eris, who is basically doing the attacking. We've got Ruijerd, who is like being like the shadow and defending Eris's like openings. We have Sandor, who's basically stepping in when it's like too difficult for Ruijerd to counter, like because he's more used to the gravity magic, so he can like step in when he has to. And then we have Rudeus on like the sidelines, who is like getting off attacks when he can. So I thought this was a cool formation. There's a lot of cool formations we kind of get throughout these various fights, but this was one of the fun ones, I think. Yeah, but Rudy talks about how Sandor was the weak point because he'd been defending Eris and Ruijerd or he had defended them from the big attack. And he'd been keeping Alek basically in this place while everyone was catching up to get back here. So it's like he is the one probably the most tired at the moment, and he was the weak point. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, there's a lot of outstanding qualities about Sander here. We'll also come back to it later, I think, when he's like stopping. Oh yeah, because he's like underneath the tree and he's just chatting to him. Just like, trying to keep. He's doing the classic North God, anything to win.
Yes.
And that includes chatting outside the fight. So.
Yep, we love it. But during this fight, Rudy has a giant, long internal analysis of what he should do. He's like paralyzed, doesn't know what he really just truly doesn't know what to do. Like, should he use his stone of absorption to stop the gravity? But then he'd have to get like close up and be in the way. Should he like force Alek away so that they have time to like run away and recover? He's basically has no idea what to do. Yep. I think this is where I'm trying to think what happens here. Alek basically is losing and he jumps off, dives into the ravine. I think that's basically what happens. And Rudy jumps after him. So yep.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, before that. Wait a minute. We got some important things here. Firstly, I have an actual note here, which is that Alek feels like a shonen main character, which I think he kind of does.
Yes.
He's young, he's energetic, he's talking about being a hero, he's fighting like a 1-on-5 fights, and yeah, he's like a shonen main character, crazy. But before he dives into the ravine, go ahead, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, say what you're gonna say, yeah.
I was gonna say Atoph makes her appearance.
Yeah.
Yep. I guess
like Atoph,
yeah.
where's more? Where is he?
Oh my god,
I want him on our side.
Yep.
And then he's just like, actually,
he's a bit behind. I flew over here.
No. He more turned up.
Oh, and actually,
he's attacking the island, Ogre Island, and so Marta has to go back.
Yep, true. Yep, I love Moore. He's capable. When I heard that Moore was in charge of the island and, keeping the Ogre God's attention, I was like, I trust it. He'll do it. He'll do his job. The reliable Moore. If Rugius is magnanimous, Moore is reliable. That's his word.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What a Chad.
Yep. Basically, at this point, everyone is fighting Alek, even his grandmother, and that's what forces him to kind of retreat and jump off the edge. And Rudy jumps after him, and then we get another fight, Bacon. Alek versus Rudeus. So Alek he respects Rudy for jumping after him. Then what else? Rudy. It's a short fight, I guess, but it's a very it's more of a character fight, I guess, on Rudeus' side, where he basically kills someone for the first time face to face, directly, intentionally. And brutally. He basically keeps shooting stone cannons when he gets an opening. He's shooting it, he's getting tired, and then I think they just describe it as like he keeps shooting, and this happens, and he keeps shooting, and yeah, it's a very brutal kind of fight. Any thoughts on this? Yeah.
And Alek is like demeaning. He's like, oh well, if anybody else came down after me, I would surely be dead, but not this guy. And it's like, come on, man. You he has like no concept of like the power here, and it was interesting because it's not true, but I think the coolest thing was that Rudy, this is the first time here, but he used it later where he has reviewed Eris and he does an Eris thing, and it kind of calls back to all the times that, like Ghislaine would say, Rudy, your issue in a fight is that you overthink everything, and you then get punished by Eris, who's single-minded, right? And here, Rudy is single-minded. And that's why he beats also Badigadi at the end, right? Like he takes on this thing. I think what I really, this is probably was this my favorite sub fight? Maybe was. I was very invested. I don't know why. I think I get irked when like he was very disrespectful to Rudy, so I was like, oh yeah, you're going down. Like out of everybody else, like I wanted Alek to die. And I was like, yeah, he's just a very dislikable character, to be honest. And yeah, Rudy beat him. I was like, come on, Rudy, I want to see you do your best. And Rudy had every reason to kill him, but he's still like thinking, can I kill him or not? And all this stuff. And yeah, it's just very satisfying.
Excellent. Well, he doesn't kill him, but he thinks he does. He wins the fight.
Yeah, and he uses gravity magic, maybe?
Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? It's like in the last moments, he's like, oh, what just happened there? It probably was gravity magic. That's my reading. I also, I thought this was so cool. You know, because one of my disappointments at the end of Mushoku Tensei, like I think I read through for the first time and I wrote notes on my phone as I was reading through. And I had like a list of like disappointments at the end of the story. One of them was that we never really, we never unlocked the thing that future Rudeus says, which is that like magic is all powerful in this world. We never truly explored that. The extent of it was probably like the time travel, right? But beyond that, we never see anything truly like insane. So I was a bit disappointed. Also, the fact that like when sorry, they call him Oldius in the fandom. When the future Rudeus shows up, he uses gravity magic to close the door. So this was kind of like, oh, we're hinting at it at least a little bit here, where it's like, okay, so now we know that he's going to at least develop it eventually, you know? So something has been set up there. But obviously, we don't cover the extent of where I thought. Like, basically, there is a little curve of Rudeus' like development with magic, which is like, initially he learns Cumulonimbus from Sylphie. Well, initially it was Water Ball, sorry. And then he learns Cumulonimbus. It's like a big jump. It's like, oh my gosh, Cumulonimbus, crazy. He can like do a whole weather thing. Then he like masters his Stone Cannon and Quagmire when he's in Volume 7. And from there he kind of like stagnates. He doesn't really learn much more magic. Then there's another jump when he learns Lightning. And from there it's been very steady. Like he doesn't really learn anything beyond Lightning. There's no other really cool move that he kind of learns afterwards, or he kind of plateaus in his magical ability after that, I think, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah. Like I would have liked to see more interesting stuff, I guess, for him to do, but that's one of my actual, I guess, disappointments at the end of this. But one of very few. Very few.
I think what's interesting is that like it's mentioned a lot of time that he's just got better at fighting. Because he was fighting against Eris and against Orsted. Like he was actually like he didn't get us to get better at magic. He just got better at fighting.
Sure. Yeah.
Which, yeah, he didn't really have. But the thing is, he also had his magic armor as well. So
that is true. There was no need for it. He became as powerful as he ever needed to be with that armor. So like, what's the point of kind of innovating at that point?
Well, yeah, I guess he didn't get his magic, but then he also still, you know. I don't know. I feel like, yeah, like he didn't like find more new technology. He stagnated in like the technological aspect, but he was just trying to get better at actually fighting, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, and he didn't really find a way to do the gravity. But yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, he wins the fight and he becomes one of the 7 great powers, Bacon. What is he called? Quagmire Rudeus Greyrat.
Yeah.
Very out of place. You know, he's not the magician god or anything like that. That's what I was expecting that he'd be, but no, he's Quagmire Rudeus Greyrat. And the symbol for him is the Migurd talisman, the thing that Ruijerd had temporarily. Very cute.
Yeah. I thought this interesting. I was a bit confused. I was like, does any of Ruijerd still on the great powers now?
True. I guess they don't reveal it actually, do they? They save it till later to get the full name for the Quagmire stuff.
Yeah.
But yep. So I guess this is also where one of the fan headcanons shows up, which is that it seems that to be on the 7 great powers, you kind of swap with the person that you beat. So it's not necessarily a ranking of like who is the strongest in the world. It's like a title that you have. And if you beat someone on that list, then you kind of swap places with them is the way it seems to be. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. But it would also suggest that like you could if you beat the person on top, you would be the strongest. Like they could work their way up. Like the strongest are the top 3.
Oh yeah, by far, yeah.
Yeah, so like There's still ranking, but yeah, you do swap. It's not like he got to the bottom.
You know what it is?
He would swap. Yeah.
I think it's like when the technique god made this, he probably like had a ranking at the moment in time of like who was actually the strongest in the world, and it was probably accurate at that point. And since then, like the top 3 or 4 are the ones who've just never been beaten, and everyone else is probably like swapped at the bottom a bunch, but the ones at the top have just never been beaten, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
That would be my headcanon. Again, we never met the technique god. That's like the one character on the 7 great powers we just never met. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Half of Laplace. Laplace is the one shunned character in this series. We just should never get him. Anyway. So Bacon, I guess this is where I ask you. I say, Bacon, you need to cast your mind back to when you read this volume. Did you think Alek was dead at this point?
Totally.
Oh, okay.
Until
cool.
it told me it wasn't.
Yep. You know what?
Yeah,
I think I was like that too, yeah. Because like you don't really think about how he is like an immortal relative of Aetoph, right? Because it just never gets brought up. And Sandor is kind of sad about it too and everything. And yeah, it's well done, I guess. Now, speaking about deaths, did you think that Zainoba was dead? Because there's a big fake out here where Zainoba is like not moving and Rudeus is like pushing him and is like, oh my gosh, is he dead? But he was just sleeping.
I feel like my eyes glanced long, like along the page longer, and I was like, no.
He'll be fine. Not. Yeah. All right. Well, with that fight out of the way, now it's peacetime, Bacon. Bunch of small stuff happens here that I have notes for. Zainoba is feeling muscle pain for the first time. Put in his effort. Aetoph is getting the villagers to build her a wooden throne, and she's teaching the warriors battle. Great. Sandor is embarrassed by Aetoph, but is occasionally being sad about Alek. Norn is following Ruijerd around like a duckling. Rudy thinks about how Eris would follow him like that back in the day.
My prediction did not come true, but it might still come true depending on what happens to the redundancy. But they seem very close regardless. Like that's where they end off. So,
well, we do learn that Norn gets married. They mention that at the end. Norn and Aisha got married. Yeah.
They do. They don't mention who.
No, they don't. They say that they're like problematic people or something like that. They're like, oh, there's like Rudy isn't happy with it. Well, he kind of is, but it's like he begrudgingly accepted it. But we don't get more than that. We don't know who they were. Okay,
that would suggest it's not Rudy then, but maybe.
Yeah, maybe. The women and children like Durga. Cool. Oh my God, Bacon. Now we get a great scene. Eris attacks North God Kalman to see if the legend is true. They say that you can't catch the second North God Kalman by surprise. Combat ready at all times. Even if you attack from behind, he turns like he has eyes in the back of his head and does away with the threat before it strikes.
Yeah. And then Kalman was like, that became true after I heard that was a rumor about me. Because enough people tried it.
Absolutely.
I love how this how the story like meddles with like truth and myth. You know, so
we are meeting a lot of living legends in this story. But yeah, now, this is another line. Basically, they fight, okay? But before they fight, I think someone says, I think Alek, he says, oh, not Alek, Sandor here, he says, what's that about? Oh, I see. This is a bit of fan service, huh? The second North God Kalman, hero of the Epic of the North God, he was a big deal. He probably ran into people like Eris a lot. I guess it's Rudy saying that. We're getting fan service, Bacon, actual acknowledged fan service. We're going to see them fight. Like, what would a fight like the North God and between the North God and Eris be like?
I don't really think that was I was the fan they were servicing with that fan service.
I was the fan, Bacon. I was excited. I'm like, what's it going to be like? I don't remember this. Like, who would win? Obviously, the North God would win.
It wasn't like a question I had. I was just like, oh, this is cool. Yeah.
Well, they got me, Bacon. All right, I was the fan being serviced.
Fair play.
But they fight, basically. Sandor is probably holding back, is what Rudy says, but he's winning until they keep going, basically, until Eris wins 3 times in a row, and everyone around them is watching, and a lot of fun fan service, basically. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, she's not on the level. Yeah. Eris is strong, but not that strong. There are limits.
Yep. Not yet. You never know. She could get stronger.
She could.
We have seen her death, though, now. We know when she dies. Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She's just walking along a road and she's like, oh, I'm dead.
Basically, yeah. All right. Now,
do you feel like she just like gave up on living then? I feel I don't know what happened there. It was just kind of funny. I was like, I guess that's a very Eris way to go out. That makes sense.
I mean, she almost certainly just had a heart attack when she died, I'm guessing, from too much strenuous exercise, I'm sure. Anyway, Sandor, he is excited. He's a fanboy. He goes to Ruijerd and he wants to hear about the details of the Laplace fight. Because Kalman won, his dad was unconscious during the final moments, so he doesn't know what happened. But Bacon, this is a light novel original thing. I'm pretty sure it was very exciting to see because I always wondered what is Ruijerd's like. Because I always heard like he got a hit on Laplace in the final moment. What was it like? And here we get a nice description. But yeah, more generally, I guess Sandor is very nervous to meet Ruijerd here, which is really cute. He's a fanboy. But what do we learn here? So European, the dragon god European, was so strong that Ruijerd had no hope of beating him. We learned that Laplace was incredibly strong. I have a quote here, one of my many quotes here. His demon eye dulled Ruijerd's movements. His fist broke through the guard to break bone, and he easily brushed off Ruijerd's attacks. Laplace shut him down, beating Ruijerd to a pulp as though he were a child. So Laplace is incredibly strong, basically.
But he has no battle aura.
Yes. Yeah. I think they implied that he has like some dragon thing with him or something. But I don't quite remember.
I mean, if Rudy got decked out with all the stuff that Geese had,
oh,
I'm sure.
Boy, that'd be something.
Yeah.
Yep. But in these final moments, basically, the dragon god European, he takes an attack he basically saves Perugius. He gets in front, takes a fatal blow from Laplace, then uses the attack that Perugius was meant to do to sacrifice himself, which is to create a magic circle that finishes off Laplace. And I think what is really cool is that, firstly, we know that this is the demon half of Laplace here, so he's not in his right mind anyway. But his final words are, he's basically ravaged by, like, insanity. Not insanity, he's like a single-minded hatred here, where he's like, don't think that was enough to kill me. Man, I'll kill you, I'll destroy you, just wait, you damn bastard, and it's like, oh, this is an interesting characterization of this like, half man split demon Laplace here. I thought it was really cool. One line, the only line we get of Laplace here, and it's just this, and it's like, oh, very interesting. I'm taking the crumbs here, Bacon. I love Laplace. Okay,
yeah,
what a cool legend here. Anyway.
He is a legend.
Yep. European saves Perugius. Perugius is probably. Oh yeah, Perugius is probably spent the last 400 years in the castle in the sky. Not only because he wants to like wait for Laplace's return, but probably because he feels guilty for European having sacrificed himself for him. So it's like he has basically dedicated his life to finding Laplace now because he feels like it should have been him who died and not European.
Well, it was his job. It was Perugius's job to do the magic, but then he didn't even do his thing because he was too beat up already or something like that.
Yeah,
I thought was cool.
Yep. Anyway, a more general thing about this like chapter here or this like retelling is that I kind of like that it was quite underplayed because Ruijerd is the one doing the narration here. We don't. It's like very short. It's to the point. Just because it's Ruijerd and that's just how he speaks. We love it.
Yeah.
Yep. Then Ruijerd and Aetoph meet each other. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and Ruijerd is sweating. She bursts in. But then I also like how she's being friendly and Sandor is like, finally someone can talk sense into her.
Oh, yeah.
Sandor's like, Mum, chill out. And she's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then they have like a whole conversation. It's revealed that Norn's between them, which she's like pleading to ask.
What an illustration, my goodness.
Yeah. But I think, anyway.
I guess the interesting thing is that she has a genuine respect for like Ruijerd and the Superds, which is kind of surprising. But she sees them as strong, I guess. Pretty cool. All right, we're getting toward the end of this volume here. So, peace treaty with the Ogre God. So, the Ogre God, we get the reveal, Bacon, that he's just a decent guy. He attacked the corporation, but he didn't kill any non-combatants, is the way they describe it here. And then Aetoph attacked the Ogre Island, but they also didn't kill any non-combatants, so it's all okay. We're going to have a nice treaty here. It's all going to work out. Then he's going to live a nice, happy life, I'm sure. Geese basically lied to him. He told the Ogre God that Rudy was going to destroy the Ogre Kingdom. The Ogre God surrenders in front of Rudeus, and he basically, I think everyone is expecting Rudy to kill him, but he doesn't. He basically asks him to fight alongside him and says that if the Ogre God dies, then the survivors of Rudeus' side will look after the Ogre Island. So I guess that's what they have to do now. But while everyone is drinking, Sandor is drinking alone, and Rudeus talks to him about Alek, about a father outliving his son, basically. He says, like, you're a father now. Maybe one day you'll understand, I guess, what it's like to have a son or something, or like what it's like to deal with what I'm dealing with. I don't know. Pretty cool.
Foreshadowing?
Is it? I guess. Wait, what is the foreshadowing? Wait.
Well, like one of Rudy's kids will die in
Oh,
redundancy.
okay, interesting. You went all out there for the predictions here. Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway, Bacon,
I'm
something.
ready.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I can't wait till the predictions at the end of this video. It's going to be great. Something appears from the ocean. Sandor sees it, but even with his eye of foresight, Rudy can't see it. But I guess despite his eye of foresight, because it's only, I guess, because of his eye of foresight, really. And Badigadi arrives with Geese on his shoulder, and we get a really cool illustration, one of my favorite illustrations, which I
Yeah.
did like an animation of it at one point. I tweeted it out. Very fun.
What did you?
It's like a very small, like it moves a little bit, but it's like kind of cool. But just as Badigadi is about to challenge Rudy to a duel, Sandor steps in and challenges Badigadi to a duel because he knows how his uncle here works. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. 1 second though.
Yep.
I thought something that was interesting. I don't know why Rudy didn't talk to him in Demon Tongue, because it's remarked that the ogre god is very like there's like a it's like the demon.
He's like very fluent in
ogre
it or
god
something,
is,
right?
yeah, he's very eloquent in it. You know,
Yeah.
like he is. So
I think it was because, like, I don't exactly remember. Maybe you can correct me here, but wasn't it because the ogre god started off speaking in the human tongue or something?
maybe.
I think he like
Yeah,
set
well,
the
he started
pace.
off speaking Demon Tongue, and then yeah, but then they reunite, and Rudy clearly knows Demon Tongue. I don't know why they just don't talk in Demon Tongue, so he's able to speak better. But yeah,
Yep. We'll never know, Bacon. We can't ask him. He's gone. The poor ogre god. I mean, I guess it's Rudy's fault. Rudy's still alive, but not really. Anyway, Bacon. What is this? Oh, we get a Badigadi point of view where they traverse a labyrinth to find the armor, this is really cool. Another thing, we're filling out the world, and again, this is a completely, actually, I'm not sure if this is completely original. I vaguely remember something like this, so maybe it is in the web novel a little bit, but yeah, so we get a little bit of lore here. So Badigadi says that at their birth, at his birth, his father told him that there is one person in the world that you should never make an enemy of. But after the conclusion of the Second Great Human-Demon War, that had grown to 3 people that you should never make an enemy of: the Dragon God, the Demon God, and the Fighting God. But in reality, the only person, from Badigadi's perspective, that you should never make an enemy of is the demonic Dragon God Laplace. So the Man God tells Badigadi that Orsted is actually more powerful than the demonic Dragon God Laplace. Laplace is...
really?
Yeah, at least that's what the Man God tells him, but I guess we don't know that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I remember that. Yeah, I was like X'd out.
True.
I thought that was Man God's gibberish. I don't know.
It is kind of crazy to think just how strong like Laplace is. Like the fact with half of his strength, he basically took over the world. Like it's, I mean, I guess Orsted would probably do a similar thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Oh, was that? But that was his demon half. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, Laplace
Well, the thing
is...
is,
yeah, go ahead.
I think Orsted could do it, but his goal was to fight against the Man God, so he wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But that, like, I guess, what is it? Orsted, I think is he like permanurfed, or does he just choose not to take off the nerf?
That's a good question. You mean like, because basically he's stuck in a time loop, right? Like, could he leave the time loop if he gave up? Maybe. I actually don't know. I would assume, you know what? I like to think of it as more of like, it's a curse that he can't give up. Like maybe he is just stuck in this time loop forever and he has to suffer all the consequences. I think I'd prefer that kind of interpretation, but I don't know. We'll never know, I guess. But yeah, unless in the sequel series they talk about it. Oh my God, Orsted's going to be a character in that. That's pretty crazy. I mean, it has to be, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, the Badigadi feels that if he fought Orsted, then he will probably die because Orsted probably knows how to kill these immortal demon kings forever. Anyway, with all that preface out of the way, they enter one of the 3 great labyrinths, the Devil's Cave. So this is crazy to think about because this is a labyrinth that was created from the destruction of an entire continent. So millions of people died here. So if this created like one of the 3 great labyrinths, what did the other 2? Like, what made them? Like, pretty crazy to just think about. Like, he doesn't even say like this is the strongest one in the world or anything. He's like, this is one of the 3 great labyrinths in the world. And he mentions that there's the Pit of the Dragon God on Mount Dragon Cry, and you pointed that out. That's like something that's pointed out in the map, I think. And there's Hell on the Divine Continent. I think you also pointed that out vaguely.
Yeah.
I do remember that. Pretty interesting.
Hell comes up in that's where Abyssal King Vita was, and you just overtook the guy there, which shows. Yeah, Abyssal King Vita is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Really got pretty lucky there.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. And he was a nice guy, right? So he yeah, we like Abyssal King Vito. He's just a decent. He's like the Urgoad, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
more importantly, Bacon, I have the greatest quote here. Badigadi says, "I cannot soar through the skies like Atof or Kishirika." Kishirika can fly. That's crazy. Oh my god.
Yeah, and she's just walking around.
Yep. Well, I guess the the way I read that is that like
Yeah, maybe just because she's young.
yeah, she's young, right?
Yeah.
Which is funny to think about. Anyway, I loved Badigadi. Oh yeah, Badigadi. He has this whole internal monologue. He runs into this like giant door of the labyrinth, and he thinks about how like Kishirika had like a door that was this big at the castle, and it was just so big that no one would ever open it. And they just go in the side door, and it was ridiculous. But now that he's the one like entering, he's the encroaching enemy here. He's like, man, maybe the door's worth it. You know, maybe it's intimidating. Then he's like, actually, no, I'm just gonna walk through the side. So yeah, cool. Then we get the reveal that actually this Guardian room is actually Kishirika's castle. Oh my gosh, what a cool thing. I assume it's like the old castle that might have been on this continent. I don't know, or maybe it's the new one.
Well, it's interesting because there's also that old statue of Kishirika when they meet Soldat for the first time or whatever.
Very true. All right. Reflecting. Oh yeah, this is kind of, I'd never considered this before, but it was cool to have this, which is that first we get the confirmation that like the explosion basically did create the Ring of Sea. It destroyed the continent in the middle of the world and created an ocean. But it wasn't just that. We didn't just lose the land. We lost like the collective memories of the people who were there. And Badigadi was like, he knew of it. And he talks about like there was this great elf swordsman who died a heroic death, but no one even knows who they are anymore because everyone who ever knew of him is dead or alongside that big explosion. It's kind of crazy. It's just like a moment. It makes me pause for a moment and be like, huh, there was like a whole thing here, a whole culture of people, and they're all gone and no one remembers them. It was so long ago and so much destruction happened. Anyway, Badigadi talks to the man god and he gives the man god advice. This is the first of the man god is an interesting character toward the end of this story. This is the first bit where we're kind of getting a hint that maybe the man god could be reformed. Badigadi tells him that he should consider what would have happened if he had people fighting for him that truly believed in him. Like, what would that be like? And it's like hinting it at the man god here. Interesting. Anyway, we're at the end of volume 25 here, Bacon. Alek's point of view. We basically find out Alek he's alive. He looked up to his dad. He has a big reflection on like, what does it mean to be a hero? If he knows that he can beat his dad and then he beats his dad, is it really worth beating his dad then? Like if he knew that he could do it all along? I don't know. He has a whole monologue here about like, you know, being a hero is achieving some impossible task. So on and so forth, you know, big monologue. I'm sure Bacon hated this, you know, you hate him as a nice hateable character.
Well, at this point, like, maybe he can be reformed or, you know, like, suggests that he's thinking a little bit. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, Bacon, volume 26. Let's talk about it. Volume cover's great. You said that. Yep. That was my first note here as well. I also think I said this last time. I like a lot of the illustrations in this. There's like two that stand out specifically. One is the one of Geese. I think that's probably the coolest illustration I think in all of these light novels. Like the half-burnt face sitting with the tree, with Galeen and Eris coming up to him. But also the one of Orsted with the god sword or whatever they call it. With Alek, I thought that was a really cool illustration. But yep.
Yeah, I mean, like the colored illustrations at the start are really cool. I like the man god there with Badigadi in his armor.
Yeah.
I love Geese's drip here. It's cool. And then Orsted smiling, which is like unsettling, and it's like yeah. And then you've got Eris, Ruijerd, and Rudeus. Rudeus looking pretty swagged out.
Yep, true.
And then you got the next scene, which is a bit of a different vibe. And the next picture next to those two, which is like the illustration of like Rudeus and all the ladies at the end.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah, you got a lot of cool illustrations. I mean, I'm not sure if any are quite as good as, you know, the Aisha and Linear one. You know, everybody's maybe volume 18 is the worst volume or something like that. But you know what?
It was worthwhile.
This illustration is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Bacon. We open. Wait, what is this? Let me have a look. Oh yes, we open volume 26 with Sandor perspective. This I loved a lot. This whole stretch of fight is done from Sandor's perspective, which is so cool because it gives you the there's like Sandor is the perfect person to be here because he's the most capable fighter amongst them, most likely, which means that he like understands everything that's going on. He can like watch it all. Secondly, he is like personally invested in it. Like his mum is here and his uncle is here and they're fighting. So we get like little lines that hint toward that. And it also, because it's not Rudeus, we also get to see Rudeus from another perspective, which is also very cool always when that happens in a fight. So he's like the perfect choice here. And it's Sandor. Sandor's awesome. So I like that too. That's another final reason there.
And I think it's it gives the monologue about him and the sword. I was like, why didn't I was like, because Rudy gives Orsted the sword, and I was like, why didn't they give? I guess Sandor wouldn't accept it, but why didn't they give Sandor the sword?
Right. Yeah.
Surely that would just because it's implied earlier that Sandor is actually stronger than Alek, but because Alek had the sword, he got the better of him eventually.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep. But this is where we get a bit of his backstory about the sword and stuff. He thought too highly of himself, you know. He thought basically he like ran into someone who took the sword from him, and he couldn't believe how strong they were just from the power of the sword. And then he decided, I'm gonna step away. I'm gonna be the supporting character in another hero story. So that was cool. This is also where we learn about him thinking about the North God style as helping like people who are otherwise like say injured in battle or are disabled from birth or blind or something. It helps them kind of find a way to make up for their lack of strength or something. Really cool North God style, this perspective of it. But this is a one-sided massacre basically. Badigadi is beating everyone. He knocks Rudy and Eris out with a single punch. And it leads to the big speech that you were saying, which I love this speech. I love Sandor so much. You know, I love Prugius and I love Sandor. They're my two. They've elevated so much in this read through here. But he says, firstly, he says, no matter how incredible a hero might be, no matter how strong, so long as they engage in war, defeat and death are sure to catch up with them eventually. A hero, after all, is heroic. Even when they know the hero dies in the end, people light up at his glorious exploits. The hero's way imprints itself onto their hearts. Then he has this speech. He says, in my left hand, a sword. And I'm getting so hyped. I'm like, oh my God, he's saying the thing. Been a while since I said that out loud. Hope I don't choke or stammer. In my right hand, a sword. I grip the hilt with both my hands. Power bubbled up from the pit of my stomach, flowing out to fill my body. I set my sights on the raging golden armor. With these, mine arms, countless lives shall I claim, and 100 million deaths I deliver. And then he charges to his death. Pretty neat.
Yeah. I mean, I thought what was really cool before this was like how Sandor is just completely willing to die here multiple times.
Yep.
And he is the GOAT. Very true. Everybody's the reason why they win, but it's like he is the X factor because he's not just strong. He is able. He does what needs to be done to help them win. Like it is. And that's almost suggested like why Eris, what was that at the end? Eris does something that's like North God style, and she's got the grit not to give up in North God style, and you can tell. Was that with Farion or something like that? But
I don't quite remember.
But yeah, it is really cool. God love him. Sandor, very cool.
Yep. Then they run back to Orsted. Orsted talks a bit about the fighting god armor. He says that he has no way to beat it, or he knows no way to beat it. He says that the way Laplace beat it was by hitting it with so much magic that it overcame the armor's threshold and then annihilated Badigadi inside it and then separated it from the armor. We also learned that Orsted has actually met Laplace before, which is a crazy revelation. I didn't remember that, so that's pretty crazy. And Orsted finally confirms here. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
When you say Laplace, he met like the first Laplace, the Demon King.
I don't know how this works. I feel like he must be talking about the Technique God. That's what I assume here. Because, like, timeline-wise, as far as I understand, Orsted came into existence 200 years ago, right? Like, he wasn't alive for the first Laplace or the second Laplace campaign,
But he got reincarnated, I guess. But did he not, like, get sent here? So he could have met him before he got reincarnated and sent to the future.
Oh, yes. He says that his dad, I guess it's possible. That would make sense. I guess we'll have to see, you know? Let's see if we can piece this together with all the crumbs I have in my notes here. Anyway, what was I up to? Orsted. Oh, yes. He confirms that he has to kill the dragon generals. So this is something that Rudy had been theorizing before. I think we briefly talked about it last time, but here
Yeah.
he confirms it. It's like, I'm gonna have to kill Prugius and so on and so forth, and he doesn't want to request help from Prugius because it's like his, he'd be betraying him later. Yeah, Orsted. What a character. We haven't got to his climax yet though, or his anti-climax. Anyway, the drawn out multi-day battle as they hit and run against the fighting god and Geese. Rudy's idea was to tire out Geese, basically. So I don't know, what can I say here? I think it's cool. There was like a cool gimmick that not Eris, I don't know why I said Eris. Geese tried, where he's like, he comes out, Rudy hits him with the stone cannon, and then he's like waiting for hours and hours to see if he's actually dead or not. And Rudeus is kind of like, he's freaking out. He's like, what do I do? What if it's Sylphie? What if he like dressed Sylphie up or something and she's dying? I need to heal her. What if it is Geese and I need to finish him off before Badigadi comes and saves him? That's like the mental anguish, and this is like a Geese trick here. I love it so much.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool mind games here.
Yep. Something the Geese would... This is a very Geese thing to do, I guess. Yeah. Very cool. Okay. But this is something that you only really get when you know what's happening here. Like when you've read this before, but it was really sad to kind of get to this point where Geese like gets up and Badigadi comes out alone. And then Rudeus casts the fire spell. And when you're reading like now for the first time, you don't think much of it. At least I'm sure I assume you probably didn't. But me knowing that this is Geese's death. Like when he chooses to send Badigadi out on his own, Geese is like, he's resigned to his fate. Like he has to have, because as soon as that fire comes out, it's like he dies there, or he like basically gets burnt, and it's kind of sad.
Well, he mentions he didn't realize Rudy was so good at fire damage.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, what I mean is that like in the moments where he sees the flame, he's like, "I'm dead. Like there's nothing I can do now because of the fire." Right. That's what I guess I don't know. That's basically what I was reading here, where it happens, and I'm just sad. I'm like, oh.
Well, no, I was like. It's like, oh yeah, he could have just killed him there, but we don't know. Like Geese says, it's shown like he took that massive lightning bolt. He took so much. Like I was like, Geese. I was surprised that he was dead, but I wasn't like caught off guard. I was like, he could die, but I don't know what other stuff that we don't know. That's part of the mind game, right? So,
yep. All right. Then we get the final round of this fight. It's against Badigadi alone, basically, because Geese is gone now. Slowly, basically one by one, everyone's getting knocked out. Okay, the Supered Warriors, they die. They're the no-name Supered Warriors we don't care about. They die one by one. Eliza's shield gets shattered, which is so sad. She had that crazy shield back when fighting for Zenith's life back in the day. Cliff gets knocked out because he's distracted by Eliza's getting knocked out. Eris, everyone's basically getting knocked out at this point. And Rudy is the last one.
I thought it was really interesting because they all, how well they did against it, considering this is like the strongest. Yeah. I mean, there's things stronger than this, but it's incredibly like well choreographed. But it's just like slowly over time. I feel like they probably fought for like 10 minutes or something, and he just got shots, and everybody's on top of their game.
That's really the way Rudy describes it, is that like as long as we keep our pattern and no sudden changes happen, then we could extend this for a long time. But then like the first to happen, like something happens, I think when the Supered Warriors first die, it's like everything is thrown off balance.
It's just a little bit. Well, it's not everything. It's just
it's like the dominoes.
And then I think everything was thrown off balance once Eliza's shield, because then Cliff loses focus and then they stop healing.
Yep.
So
Yep. But Rudy is basically the last one conscious, and he demands he makes a request of Badigadi, which is to not seek out his children. And Badigadi accepts. This is very similar to the Orsted thing, where in his final moments when he's realized he's dead against Orsted, he's like, please don't kill my children. It's like a very similar kind of parallel here. Yep. Now, Bacon, this is the climax. This is the best thing. This is the best thing ever, Bacon. The best part of any fight I've ever seen, okay? Ghislaine, Sylphie, and Isolte arrive, okay? They changed the tide of the battle here. I was so excited. This is so cool. Sylphie's healing everyone.
It was really cool. It was very cool, and you have like the picture, but it was like, but then of course it's like Rudy's like, and then something happens, and I see like blue panties, and I'm just like, okay, okay, jeez. It was really cool, but the fact that I think I was actually popping off more that Isolte was here.
Absolutely,
Ghislaine. I was like, Isolte's here, and then Ghislaine was actually like dodging stuff because she was so low to the ground.
Yes,
and then
exactly.
I think the coolest thing, which I was so happy, is like Sylphie is just the best healer. I love that so much.
Yes.
So much like you kind of think, oh, Cliff is the heel guy. He healed the plague. He's the
Mm.
greatest ever. And then like Sophie's just like, yeah, but I can do a voiceless though.
Yep.
I was like, she was better than Cliff and Rudy combined, which was crazy.
Absolutely. And she makes like she probably has the
yeah.
biggest impact on this things changing because she can just bring everyone back. It's pretty great. But yeah, there are the three MVPs: Ghislaine, Lowdown, Sylphie, Voiceless Magic.
It was a Black Wolf though. I thought that was interesting, but I guess was that like a reference to is Ghislaine a wolf?
You know what, Bacon? I also realized recently that she's a wolf. I never realized that. This whole time I did also think she was a cat. But if you, I don't know. Now that I look at her, I'm like, yeah, she's obviously a wolf. She looks like a wolf. I just never considered it before.
Let me see.
But the one thing is that she has like a cat's tail, right? That's like the one thing.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, it's like it must be a mix, but I don't know.
I guess the ears are kind of pointy. They're not cat ears. They are.
Yeah.
They are dog ears. Now I look. No, well, I feel like no, because they're not. Because I think it's because like Linea's ears are the same as Ghislaine's, but Person's is the dog person. Like, but yeah, she hasn't got a dog tail. She's got a cat tail. She's cat.
Yeah.
But then I was wondering, is this like a reference to Rudy's to Paul's thing?
Huh? It's a Paul's thing. What is
to Paul? Like Paul's like their old group.
Oh yes. Oh my God, you're right. I didn't even piece that together. That almost certainly is what it is. Yeah. Good job, Bacon. That has to be. The Fangs of the Black Wolf.
Fangs of the Black Wolf. Yeah. What is this? This guy. What I could see is inside the long skirt above me a pair of blue pants. Familiar. I thought it was familiar. I couldn't place him. Another wolf I'd seen, as if I could forget. Yeah. Geez. Okay, so he saw. Yeah. Okay, I got confused by this point, but yeah. So I guess this is old. He saw. Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah. Mushoku Tensei. What can I see?
Absolutely.
Doesn't quite ruin the moment, and has a really awesome picture of Sylphie. So it's okay.
You know what? I completely glossed past it. I don't even think about these things anymore, Bacon. They gloss over in my mind. I just think about how cool it is.
I reckon if I was reading, I'd probably, because I'm listening to audiobook, I like pick up every single detail, which I think definitely improves my reading experience overall. But it's just like, yeah. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, Isolte's great. Okay, she's the one. She basically can't do any damage, but she can deflect every single one of Badigadi's attacks,
which is crazy, isn't it? She
Yep.
is an emperor. Yep. But it is. Yeah, she could indefinitely go against Badigadi. She wouldn't win, but yeah, it was very cool. And I love how Ghislaine was useful still. She hasn't been. I think that's what I like. Is like both Ghislaine and Ruijerd haven't been out power crapped because they were so cool and powerful at the start. And,
this is the most useful that Ghislaine has ever felt, because a lot of the time, for instance, even in Volume 17, it kind of did feel like she was like Eris' superior there, but it did feel like they had a very similar role, right? But in this case, because of her fighting style, the low fighting style really makes it feel like she is the only one who could do this position that she's doing, right? Like she's always fought like this in her, like growing up, for instance. Like the one thing I remember from the anime is like kind of in a low down pose when she's being showed to be like a feral child back in the day. And I'm like, oh, it's like she was back then. Oh my God, look at her fighting here. Anyway, and we also get like in the anime when she's like going to save Rudeus from the kidnappers and she's like running on the rooftops like this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Ghislaine. She's doing her like low pose thing. Oh my God, it's so cool. Anyway, we love it. Or I love it at least, right? Bacon, he's dissuaded by the mention of panties, okay? But me, I don't even see it, okay? I've gotten over Rudeus's mind, okay? Anyway, what is there?
That's for the best part about Sandor's perspective. We don't get Rudy's.
Oh my God. Anyway, what is this? Oh my God, Bacon, another thing. Basically, I'm just, I know Kyle Entertainment hates it when I say this, but I'm excited for this to be animated, okay? I can imagine it in my head. Because there's like a few things going on, which is firstly, it's the end and Rudy thinks that he's about to die and everything. And then Ghislaine and Sylphie and Isolte show up and I'm sure there's like triumphant music or like epic, like second round music. Oh my God, we're going to fight. And then we get like this description of Rudy basically running nonstop. He's running back to the Superbird village. He's ignoring Julie. He's ignoring Norn. He's just sprinting. And I'm like, I can imagine this, right? Animated.
Go, Rudy, go. Go. Screw these people.
Absolutely.
Oh, big brother. Get out of the way, Aisha. We're going. Go.
Yep.
I think, and I don't know. I imagine in my mind like that anime run. I think it's. Oh, I've done it.
What, from My Hero?
It's like.
You say run?
Anyway, it's no. It's like this Sakuga anime of like an anime. I think it's an anime girl that's just trying to run like as fast as she can against like a river with the background or whatever. It's just like a normal. I think I just thought this is a normal person running. This isn't like,
True.
this isn't Ghislaine. This isn't Eris who is like speedy running. This isn't cool. I imagine it's just like absolute, just like arms flailing,
Yep.
trying to run as fast as they can, kind of thing.
He's probably tripping over every now and then, but he's running, all right. It's great.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that is so cool. Yeah, I was going to say something and I forgot. Oh yeah, what Carl Entertainment said about the anime. I think this is an interesting thought. So theoretically, we could get this done in 4 seasons, right? So we've done 2 seasons with 6 vols each.
Yeah, they really went through it, like the 6 volumes in season 2 way quicker than I ever expected. So I'm sure they could do it in 4 seasons if they really wanted to.
Yeah, but I reckon it could be better like Attack on Titan situation where they make this last part into like a movie or something.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's big enough for that.
I think personally it would be. I know it would never happen, but I think OVAs would be really cool for this. Because especially toward the end here, there's a bunch of like arcs, right? Like you could probably do the Miller stuff in like an arc, right? Like an OVA, like 2, or even in 1 OVA or 2 OVAs or something. I don't know. They're not going to do it though. I don't know why I'm thinking about this.
No. I think okay. So the temperature check will be: can they do the Orsted fight versus Rudeus?
Can they live up to
15 Justice?
Yeah.
Like can, and if they do that well, then I trust that they hopefully can do this one. But yeah, it's so much work. I mean, look, even though in season 2 the production value did dip, right? Like the episode 11 and 12 were fantastically animated from an action standpoint, right? Regardless, right? Fighting the Hydra was really big, right? So I don't know. It makes me honestly. I mean, I think apart from Studio buying like UFO Table would be great because they've done the Fates movies where there's just so many like particle effects, which I think would work really, really well. They are like really good with visual effects and 3D environments, but also like by post processing, where it's just insane. Like I think I've seen the clips, but like Fate, yeah. Anyway, but yeah,
you know what I want?
Interesting stuff.
I want the season 1 team to animate it. Okay, that's all I need. Give them another 4 years. Take their time. They can do it.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, like, but I mean, how different was the team?
I mean, as far as I understand, it's a classic example of like the One Punch Man thing, where it's like they get a bunch of talent all coming together, contracted out for this like 1 season of anime, and then they just spread apart.
Kind of like JJK, and there's a different director and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, completely different director. Yeah. So who knows? It'll never happen again, but that's okay. At least we got that season 1 that's like one of the best animated things I've ever seen. Yeah. Anyway, and also of course we got Turning Point 2. At least they did that one justice. So with that, I'm happy.
Yeah, that's true. What? Yeah, did Attack on Titan have the same director? No, it didn't. I guess.
Well, it changed when Mappa took over.
Did it change? Was it?
Yeah, different studio. Wait, what do you mean?
But I wonder if it changed before that. I thought different guy directed season 1 to season 2.
Sure. No idea. But I know Mushoku Tensei has had 3 directors now. It had 1 for season 1 and 2 for season 2. Yeah, it's split. Like half of season 2 was one director, and then the second half was another director.
Okay, so there was 2 directors for season 4, and then 1 director for season 1, and 1 director for season 2 and season 3, or 2. But like the same guy did 1, 2, and 3. Along with another guy who did 2 and 3. This guy, I think he also did Death Note. He was a director of Death Note. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
But he hasn't directed anything. He directed Bubble. Okay, fair enough. Oh, the Iron Fortress. What are these? These are recaps. Huh. Cabanari and the Iron Fortress. What a. Yeah, he also directed No Regrets. Anyway, sorry.
All right.
And then Mushoku Tensei director. Yeah, so I mean, did everybody think like it wasn't as good or whatever, or
I don't know.
season 2, or like it's a beef. Okay, so season 1 director he's only directed. No, he also directed Idolmaster, a TV episode, I think. Was that anything? Yeah, but he's only directed Mushoku Tensei, which is crazy. If you direct, if he directs Mushoku Tensei, yeah, that's crazy.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe he just didn't make enough money or whatever. Or I mean, it's gonna be like for example, Heavenly Delusion. I don't know if that's done that well, but that was a crazy production, wasn't that?
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah.
We'll see, Bacon. Maybe the hype will come back. You know, maybe the money will season 2 will make so much money that they'll spend their time on season 3. Who knows? Anyway.
But the Blu-rays.
Yep. Bacon. Now we get firstly, Rudeus gets the Mark Zero, which is like one that's meant to decisively win a battle. You're meant to spend a lot of mana so that he can win quickly.
Yeah.
And Orsted throws in the gravity blade too. But yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Yeah. I thought this was interesting because I was like, how are they gonna win? It did feel like there was no way they were gonna win. What's the X factor? And then like they said they're waiting for Roxy. I'm like, what are they waiting for Roxy? And it's like, oh, of course, she's been like working on this thing forever, hasn't she? But for some reason I thought that was already used because they had already teleported in the extra one. But yeah,
sure.
So
yep.
But yeah, it was really cool.
Yep. Now, Bacon, we get a chapter 3, the 5th turning point. So we get turning point 5 finally. Now I can finally say this because it's like a big thing. It's said at some point. I think the author says it in his comments or something. But these turning points. Well, I guess can you piece them together? What is a turning point at this point? Now that you've seen all of them, any idea? Or do you just think it's like a big moment in Rudeus' life or something?
Oh, I wasn't thinking about it that hard. A turning point.
I guess think about it. So turning point 1, what happened then? I guess we probably shouldn't spend this much time on this, but
hold up. So turning point 1 is. Yeah, like that's when Nanahoshi gets teleported in. Turning point 2.
Now, it's interesting to say that because it's also the first time Rudeus meets the man god. Is turning point 1.
Yeah.
But yeah. What's turning point 2? Who does he meet in turning point 2? Oh my gosh.
Orsted.
All right. And what's turning
and the
point
man
3?
god. Yeah. Turning point 3, what he also meets the man god.
Oh, turning point
4, he also meets himself and the man god. Does he meet anyone special in turning point 3? No, I don't think he does. And then turning point 5.
He doesn't meet anyone, but
no, I don't know. Yeah, I don't.
Or I guess the big the thing that everyone says is that the turning points are when there is a change in the power dynamic between Orsted and the man god. Like there's basically a big a shift in who's winning in this fight. It's a turning point in that way. So this 5th turning point is when basically the tide has shifted to what Orsted is going to win now. Basically, at least that's what like people say. And I think the authors probably commented on this at some point, but I don't exactly know that. But yep, crazy.
Yeah, okay, so the first one is in Orsted's favor, the second one's in the man god's favor. Third one's in the man god's favor, the fourth one is in Orsted's favor, and the final one's in Orsted's favor.
Yeah, it's probably just like when a big thing happens in this battle between them, I guess. But yep, pretty crazy. Yeah. The 5th one. Chapter titles are so fun, Bacon. When I read this, I'm like, oh my gosh, it is a turning point.
Yeah.
But Rudy fights Badigadi solo with this Mark Zero. The strategy here is basically keep chopping off Badigadi's arms and encase them in barriers and so on and so forth. You know, slowly whittle him down and trap his bits away. And the fighting god armor doesn't cover back up for those bits that are chopped off.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. So
this was definitely like, I mean, it was cool to see him get the power up. It was definitely like, man, he's going full anime out. He's got his full anime. Yeah. It was cool. I guess it was set up pretty well. But then he also like blasted through the armor eventually.
Yep.
Like, but I think what I liked most is that Rudy was just like Eris in this. Like, he was just like, I'll take it, bit by bit.
Yep.
Always got to commit. Don't think. Because Eris isn't very good at thinking.
Yep. Very true. That is one thing we can say about Eris, certainly. But Badigadi, he reshapes his 4 remaining arms or something like that, 5, I don't know how many, into 2 strong arms, and then he gets a hit on Rudeus. And just as he's about to finish Rudeus off, Eris shows up and saves him. Crazy. But this is, I don't know, I felt like a fool here because I feel like I got subverted, but maybe it's just so obvious and I just went over my head. But basically, there's a line here. He said, I poured yet more mana into it, trying to wring out every last drop I had left. I doubted I could use it myself, but a member of my family was standing in front of me with a broken sword raised before her, growling with her teeth bared and all to protect me. I threw the blade to her. To me, this was like a subversion because like midway through when he's saying this, my reading was that he's like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do this. I'm not a sword fighter, but because my family's here, I'm going to defend them and I'm going to use this sword and win. But then at the end, he's like, I threw it to her. And I'm like, whoa, oh my God, I can't believe it. He's giving it to Eris. So yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot because it's like, it doesn't make Rudy the center of attention and it's using people for their own strength. So I was like, so Rudy gets this sword? Like, why would he why would we want him to use this sword? I guess he's got the armor, right? But then I'm just like, oh yeah, let's get Eris to use it because makes a lot of
I
sense.
mean,
So
it's
yeah,
the best of both worlds. It's like he says, it's all of Rudeus's mana with all of Eris's strength, and it overwhelms the fighting god armor. And it's like, oh,
yeah,
perfect. Look at this. Um,
yeah.
yep. So after the fight has concluded, they find Geese half burnt basically, and this is good stuff, Bacon. I got a little emotional here. Pretty crazy. But basically Geese, he's kind of like himself, but he's a little bit delirious. Um, he's very hurt here. Like he's very sad. Which is kind of, I didn't remember this, so it was cool to see it. Basically no one listened to him. He had a plan and it all failed. Yeah, not a single one of the people he recruited did what he said. He says he gave it his all. Rudy doesn't truly accept it until later on, but he says it here. He frames himself, like he has an interesting way of framing himself and Badigadi as soft-hearted, where he says, see, Badigadi and I, we're unusually soft-hearted. Who else would help out a guy who screams at his allies for being useless even now? Soft is his you. Yep. Then we have what I wrote here. I said the climax of Bacon's imposter syndrome theme. I don't know if you'll agree with this, Bacon. And I also don't know if I agree with this, but Geese talks here. There's a comparison he makes between him and Rudeus, and he basically thinks that Rudeus can do anything. Whereas Rudeus internally thinks that I'm just like I can't. I'm just like a person. But he says, you wouldn't get it, eh, boss? You can do anything, go anywhere in the world, all on your own. You wouldn't get what it's like when you just can't do nothing. And then Rudy says, I did get it, or at least I thought I did. I understood what it was like to not be able to do what everyone else could. Geese was me as I'd been long ago, only there was one difference. Back then I hadn't even tried. When I came up against the wall, I just ran away. Geese, on the other hand, really didn't have the ability. In this world dominated by monsters and violence, the most important power the most important power was the power to fight, and he didn't have it. He'd learned how to do everything else, but he couldn't survive. So, very interesting framing of Geese here.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting where like Rudy said, "You're the toughest battle I ever fought," and Geese was like, "Oh, okay, phew." I think what I felt doing this is, I think there's something here where it's like lots of this feels unnecessary and almost like I don't understand. You know, like I can understand like him wanting to repay the man god, but
oh no, okay, wait, I think we're going about different ways here. Yeah, go ahead, Bacon.
but like it felt completely unnecessary that Geese had to die like this, right?
Oh, okay, yes,
And I
I agree
think
with that. Yeah. Even Rudy says it at the end where he's like, in his heart, he thought that maybe there was a way to have Geese come back on his side, but it all ended up like this, right? Yeah.
And I think it's interesting to see like you have a load of like contrast to Rudeus, but like what Geese was is that he felt like he was useless, but he couldn't tell anybody that. Like he felt like a fraud, and that just kind of drove him into deeper fraudulence, and so he had to kind of back, the man that backed him this whole time, and the only reason why he felt like he was any good at anything because he felt like if he sacrificed this, then what is he? And I don't know if I'm getting this confused with something else, but I think it kind of, it's like the thing is Geese is useful, right? Like, and like it's like comparison to the Thief of Joy with these people, and you have lots of people like Luke or like Norn who aren't the strongest, but they have found themselves in situations and got them out of it. Like no one's going to think a Geese is useless, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah,
it just feels like like it could have been avoided because Geese could have just been like we all thought Geese was awesome, right? I don't think everybody was like, wow, Geese is such a lightweight. He's not doing anything. No, there's never a point like that we think, oh, he's useless, right? Like I was surprised that he wasn't stronger in a fight. Like when it was revealed, it was like, oh, he just can't fight. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess Geese just retroactively says, oh, that's all the man god that he did that for me, right? Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just it's I mean it's sad.
Yeah.
I know it is true with the imposter syndrome. I think this comes up later as well with the kind of was true lesson of the story, but it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I had something to say on what you were saying. I guess on the fact that Geese wanted to be acknowledged as strong is this is what really gets me, like emotionally here. Where Geese is a character where he's always joking, right? We never get we very rarely get a very serious scene where he's talking about like I don't know, having some serious conversation about something. He's always got his own like little spin on it. And we never truly see the true Geese on the inside, at least when he's talking to people. But I guess we kind of do at the same time, because that is the true Geese, right? The jokey Geese is Geese. But anyway, what I like about this is that through his joking kind of exterior and the way he's saying things here, he reveals that deep down he really is hurting. And the way he says it is, I've written it here, which I like a lot. He says, how do you think I feel when you don't? Wait, I don't know what that he's exactly saying here, but makes me look like a real moron after I went all over the world getting the Sword God and the North God and the Ogre God to join me, then getting him fired up, like, let's take him down, only for it to all fall to pieces, all because I couldn't control him. At the end, I took a risk and sent Baddie. Look where that got me. At least remember me as a strong opponent, yeah? That's how I want to be remembered. It's, like, this is the most serious we've ever seen Geese, but it is still a little bit, like, just the way he's speaking is very, I don't know how to say it. It's like a mismatch between how Geese speaks and the things he's saying here, where this feels like the most honest we've ever seen Geese and the most emotional, I guess, to me. I don't know. And then he says, before I knew it, Geese was crying. Tears were streaming down his soot-stained face. When I saw that, I knew for sure that he hadn't held anything back. Okay, you were strong, Geese. True. I'm standing here now, but if one thing had gone awry, I'm sure our places would have been reversed. This was the hardest, most brutal fight of my life. Heh. Cheers, Rudeus. Yeah, it's just so sad because we're seeing Geese is very vulnerable here, and he's showing his insecurity to Rudeus, and Rudeus hadn't truly understood it until this point. He hadn't understood that Geese had truly put everything into this. Yeah, it's sad.
This is someone who had went up in front of Badigadi, so many people. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think what to say.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just feels, as I said before, it feels so unneeded. It feels like if Geese was just more honest with people, didn't try to hide himself, didn't feel like he was overcompensating for his insecurity, none of this needed to happen. Like if he didn't feel like he was a fraud, if he didn't let this insecurity get the better of him, if he was more honest, right? Because Geese has always been a character that you kind of like, he's always been a bit slimy, a bit deceptive, but like, and you don't really think of him as that admirable, but all he wanted to be thought of as admirable. But the thing is, like, if someone was just more like honest or like were able to get to him, it's like, hang on, like we know you want to do this, man, but like what is that? If he kills Rudeus here, what does that get him? Like what is that? Like you can die and you can feel fulfilled. Like like it's not actually the root of happiness, And I feel like that's kind of what's touched on in the final chapter. Maybe I'd have to read it fully again. But yeah, that's like, yeah.
Well, there's something to say about how in his dying moments, he has that speech, like I just said, but the actual dying moments is when he looks to Ghislaine and talks to Ghislaine about how, I'm heading on and say hello to, like Ghislaine says, say hello to Paul to me. And they basically talk about their old adventure life. And that was kind of like when Geese was, he doesn't say it, but obviously that was when Geese probably had the happiest moments in his life.
Well, he does mention it, I think, early on, like when he like thought least the man god, and yeah, and all those things is like the fact that Paul and Zenith left is the reason why Rudy's having to deal with this mess now. And yeah, I liked it was a good moment for Ghislaine as well. She was generally really hurt here, and
yeah, she talks about how she's like Zenith will be around for a while. I'll be the one to go next, I'm sure. It's like, yep, probably you are a warrior here. Yep. And then Geese dies, crying, burnt, sad. Yep. Anyway, basically seeing this, like a little bit of, basically, I'm so glad that I got the other Geese stuff, basically. The scene with him, with the Sword God, seeing his perspective, what drives him. I'm very glad we got that because it makes this scene more impactful, I think. So it was all worth it in the end. Well done, light novel. What else? Rudy reflects on how it was a perfect battle and none of his family died. He had no reason to hate Geese in this moment and decided to bury him next to Paul. Crazy. So then we think it's over, Bacon, but Alek comes back in the fighting god armor. And now we finally get the final fight here. So they return to the village. Rudeus is running to the village. I guess Alek knocks everyone out except for Rudeus. It's like, Rudeus, I'll let you live because, I respect you now. But they run to the village and everyone is gone. We're like, what the hell? What happened? Why are they all gone?
Yeah.
But then we find out that Orsted...
I was like, oh no. Yeah. I was like, oh, I guess we've only had 80 pages. Yeah. Jeez, we got to do this again.
True. But wait, more fighting? Well, wait. So at this moment you were fatigued in that, like, oh my god, we're gonna have another round, but then it was subverted? Or?
No. I was like, go and give Rudy a break. Oh man.
Oh, okay.
It's like, okay. Kind of thing, right?
Yep.
And I think, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? I was kind of like, man, I can't like, yeah, it was kind of like, I was like, oh, who's gonna beat him now? What else do they have to beat him? You know?
Yep, they've
And I
truly
was like,
spent
oh,
everything.
and I was like, oh, they have Orsted to beat him.
Absolutely.
I
But
was like, oh man, I was like, just give up, just learn your lesson, mate. Come on, didn't really like beat it into you.
Yep.
Um,
So Bacon,
yeah.
I guess before firstly, Orsted went to Perugius and requested his aid for sealing Badigadi. But then Bacon, okay. I'm so curious what you think about this, because I talked about this in my video, and I think you've seen my video now, but this is the revelation as the climax. This is the big anti-climax of this final fight, which is Orsted steps in and beats Alexander. We don't even see it. There's a time skip. It's like the fight's over as soon as like it's over in 10 minutes or something. What did you think about this, the big climax of the final fight in Mushoku Tensei?
I was like, yeah, I was like, dude, well, that was easy. Could he just done this the whole time? That's what I was thinking.
Yep, true.
No, I think it's just the whole time I'm just like, I don't actually know how strong he is. I think I'm just retroactively, you're just like, Orsted is just way stronger than everybody else. It's not even close. Like, it is like, it's like, even if like Farion and Alex tried to kill him, like, he would have killed both of them easily, right? Like, and I think, I think what I liked about it a lot is like Orsted's arc finally perfected, because he's like, why are you here? And also Orsted, why? And I think you mentioned this in your video. He's like, he's like, however, this I did not anticipate. I shall handle the rest. And you're like, but Sir Orsted, your manner enough. There's been enough of that. Orsted shaking his head. I too have made up my mind. Made up your mind? About what? His mouth. He looked at me. His mouth quirked with this thinnest shadow of a smile, which I assume is like what his like kind of smile at the beginning of like in the volume illustrations. Then said with almost imperceptible determination, with the most terrifying face in the world, he said, I wish to see for myself what it is like to fight along trusted friends. Which I think is so cute. Yep. You know, I was just like, and at this point I was like, boot his ass.
Yep.
Take him down. And then when it was quick, I was like, yeah, that's the worst I know.
Absolutely.
I thought it was cool.
I think this is like, I said it in the video, but this is like, it's so good to me, Bacon, because I was not expecting this. Okay. I know it actually is set up really well. We've actually talked about this quite a lot, where it's like Orsted, there is a mismatch between the way Rudy perceives Orsted and the way Orsted is clearly perceiving Rudeus. And this is kind of the climax of it, where it's like, there is more to life for Orsted now than his sole mission that he's had, like for whatever, the past 20,000 years or whatever. He has found, he for the first time in all of his loops, he has formed relationships with other people, and he sees the value in it. And obviously this ties in with the whole theme of Mushoku Tensei about like the importance of relationships and how having people around you, a supportive environment can, they can make you a better person.
That's how he wins.
And yeah, it is right? How he wins.
And that's the contrast of the man god, right? That's the edge. That's the thing that Rudy was talking to the man god about. Or was that Badigadi that you're saying, like, where he's like, you are using people like pawns on the chessboard, but you don't actually know them. It's like, it's like, why is the man god locked up there? Like, what is his, like, it is so, like, the man god is still like unanswered. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, another mystery, right? Like, which is left. Like, it is surprising how little of the man god we actually get, right? We don't know who he is really. We don't understand really what he wants. But we do get the thematic stuff with him, which is that he is lonely. He is kind of the unpleasant person that Rudeus was in his past life, which doesn't like people and doesn't want to. We can talk about this when we get to the final scene with Rudeus, I guess. But the man god is interesting. And this is Orsted.
This is the ultimate contrast. Friends. Like, Orsted finally wins against the man god because he was able to make friends. Yeah. That's not because he wasn't trying to. Like, his curse was really bad, right? Like, sucks. But that's the loop. What broke the loop was being able to make friendships in a way. So
absolutely.
And also that, like, the people that he was friends with were exceedingly competent. So
very true. Yep. I have one quote. What is this? I'd misjudged a little, not one thing in particular exactly. It was just that Orsted had let me in more than I'd thought. He thought of me as his ally on an emotional level, not just in his calculations. He wanted to fight alongside his friends, not allies, friends. True. All right.
And I think it's really quite cool here that, like, Orsted fights.
He uses his sword. He fights in the forest. Yeah.
But like Alex is like the strongest person. Like, he has got the greatest sword and the greatest armor, and also it's just like
he's more talented than Badigadi. Like, they even point that out. Like, if Badigadi's simple.
So yeah, Yeah, which I thought was very cool. And then you have your animated panel here, which I remember.
Mhm.
I thought this was Rudy here initially, Orsted, when
Yep.
you like posted this on your big GIF of your favorite stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a very cool illustration. I was also going to say it kind of is really interesting to think about two things here. One is that if this fight was quite easy, obviously he spent quite a lot of the mana that he probably shouldn't have spent. Well, it doesn't. I guess it's okay that he spent it now because he has friends. But it was quite an easy fight, completely one-sided. It's also just funny to think about how strong Laplace is and how strong the man god is. If he has to have all of it, firstly, he has to have all of the mana for the fight against the man god. Just shows how strong that he is as an adversary, I guess, compared to people like the North God here. Like, like, how strong is the man god, you know? And also Laplace, that he spends so much mana to beat him, I guess. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, no, for sure. I also think to finish off my Elden Ring references, I've always thought of Orsted looking like Margot with his cursed sword. I don't know why.
Wait a minute. Am I thinking of the right guy? The first boss you fight?
The second time you fight him, though.
Oh, the set with the cool sword and everything. Yeah,
the curved sword. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well,
Margot. I think it's Margot, not Margit. I get them confused.
Yep. True. Cool ability. Cool blade. All right. Sandor.
King.
Sandor survived Bacon. Oh my god, because he's like kind of immortalish.
Yeah.
But like we said,
the immortal juice.
Yeah, except for the ogre god who died. Oh my gosh, poor guy.
Peruski.
Yep. Atoph and more are missing. I wonder if like Atoph went missing, maybe more like chased after or something. I don't know. But yep. Basically we just say our goodbyes. Like everyone's returning home. Like Zainoba's heading home. Like Orsted's heading home. Everyone's going their own separate ways. It's like a bunch of cute stuff. For Bacon, now we get like, oh no, there's more in the goodbye stuff. There's Ruijerd and Rudy's final scene. We get the line that works every time I hear it. They've used it a few times in this light novel series, but Rudy points out that Ruijerd and him are the same height now. It's like, oh, look at this, how far he's come. But Rudy, again, a thematic thing. There's a lot of thematic things here about Rudeus now, but he says that he only became a world power because of the strength of the people around him. He's only so strong as he is because, you know, he has the people who he used their strength to kind of achieve the title that he got in the end.
Yeah.
And then Ruijerd hands him back the Roxy pendant. Very cool. All right.
Very cool indeed.
Yep. Now we get all the wrap up. So Alek is working under Orsted. Quagmire, Rudeus, Greyrat, number 7 of the Great Powers. What else? Rudeus and Orsted. They visit Badigadi. So he's sealed away pretty strongly. They got he's split into 5 pieces. Each piece is sealed in a different part in this cave. They're using god tier barriers powered by both the fighting god armor, which is already enough on its own, plus the Dragon King blade. And it was done by Perugius. We love Perugius. And the funny line that they point out, which I wonder if this will show up in the sequel series, they say it could probably even seal Orsted. Oh my gosh. That's a scary thing to bring up at this point. But yep. But Badigadi refuses to fight for Orsted, and he says, the pariah of the dragon tribe dares command me, an immortal demon, to bow down to him. So there's some stuff going on there in their backstory. But yep, Badigadi refuses to fight, and he's willing to wait until the fight with the Laplace is over so that he can be unsealed. Then Badigadi points out that the man god has given up. Rudeus's victory here kind of showed him that no matter what he does, he will never win. Again, this is kind of like, it portrays the man god as, I guess, thematically sympathetic, where it's like the man god is giving up here in the same way that Rudeus gave up on ever leaving his home, right? Not his like house back in the old life, his void world, right? The man god has similarly given up at this point of leaving the void world and the six face world. I've had a grand video idea that eventually I'll make about the man god and Rudy and all that, but there is clearly parallels going on here between Rudy's old life and the man god in his current life. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's a really good point. That's a really nice point. Yeah, I mean,
I don't exactly know how this ties together at all, but I know it's a thing.
Well, let's do a bit of theory crafting. Let me help you out here. I think, like the man god is a perpetuant child. I don't think Rudy in his old life
was evil. No, I don't think so.
He wasn't evil. He wasn't like vindictive against people. He just didn't want anybody to be around him. It was a bit different to the man god, but I think thematically it resonates the same. And like one thing you could do, here's something, in the same way that Rudy, when he came to this world, because he was such a degenerate, he, objectified women and lolicons and all this stuff. It's the same view that that man god has towards people. They are pawns for his own desires. This links with Zenoba as well, where like he kind of just sees them as dolls. He doesn't see them as humans. And I think in a more subtle way, Rudy has the most, when he realized people have the most satisfying lives when they realize the humanity in others, and trying to incorporate that, and let them be human and don't just objectify them. Now Rudy still like is very pervy and all this stuff, but like that would be, I guess, one very thematic, nice thing that adds to Rudeus's problematic behavior. Because, I feel like this chapter between them, I'd had to read again a little bit, like when he's talking to when he dies.
We'll get to it.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. Good point, Bacon. Okay.
All thought of on the fly. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, very done.
Just ask me if you want help.
All right.
Great analysis.
Just imagine the day you make a Mushoku Tensei video, Bacon. Oh, they're gonna be so excited.
Dude, I've got so many thoughts that I'm trying to distill. I'll come on to this on. Oh, we still not reached my favorite chapter.
All right, we're getting there. Okay, I'm excited to see which one that is. But Badigadi, basically, at the end of this scene, he gives brief words of encouragement for Orsted. He says, "May it be that your curse is lifted, young dragon god." And it's like, oh, interesting. They clearly have history here, which is off screen, but yeah, interesting. Now, Bacon, is this your favorite scene? Wait, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, you got more?
I was actually quite sad in this, because I feel like, Badigadi was someone who I thought I knew more than I did, if that makes sense.
There is a lot more. Yeah, he's a long-lived person that we knew a very brief moment of his life, right? A very brief side of him.
And he doesn't really take, like to me, I'm just like, oh, they spent like 5 years with each other or whatever, or like a whole 2 years or whatever. Like, that should be impactful, but like for Badigadi, that is just a blip in his existence, and he doesn't really actually have the emotional capacity for Rudy. Like how much he didn't feel bad at all to fight against Rudy for the sake of for the sake of for Geese. If like, to me it was betrayal, but like to Badigadi, it helps put you in his mind.
It is. Like, how do I think? Like, when I think of Badigadi and the good times, I think of it his wedding. At Rudy's, was it his wedding? Yeah, it was his wedding, where Badigadi encouraged him to like get a speech or whatever, or like it gave him the confidence to like break out of his shell when he's being too formal. And I'm like, oh, that was like a big thing for Rudeus back then. But Badigadi was just, this is like it's an insignificant thing that I'm sure he enjoyed. He loves living in the moment, but he has lived a long life where he has been many different people throughout his lives. And it's a very asymmetrical relationship.
Yeah. And it kind of puts in perspective that we didn't really know him. Kind of funny.
Yep. If only we knew what was he, the Demon King of Wisdom or whatever? What would that be like? What an interesting guy he would have been back then. Do you think he was skinnier? Like, do you think he got more muscular as he started like working out and stuff?
That's what I thought. I assumed he was very...
Yep. Yeah. Probably. All right. But Bacon, is this your favorite scene? They have a foursome. Is that what's happening? Where they...
Yeah, that was my favorite scene.
I knew it.
I was like, gather the Pokemon. Yeah. Call them all.
Yep.
And we find this is the biggest bit of Eris character development we had in this entire series. I'm about to say, I was waiting for this moment. I was like, good grief.
Yep.
Let's get going.
Yep,
Get baby making again.
I don't have anything else to say, Bacon. Yep, they have a foursome.
Actually,
and Eris is okay with
we kind of skipped over him coming home and having like one of the cutest pictures with like Linnea and Zenith and Lucy. That was really cute.
The illustration. I thought you meant like a picture like in his mind or something. Yeah, true. That is true.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I had like.
And Lilia's crying, in her old age. My goodness.
Yeah. She's like, oh, classic Lilia, arguably the one of the most messed up characters at our own.
Oh, we're getting the redundancy. Okay.
Oh, is there more redundant? Oh, yeah, boy.
Oh, no, don't worry. Like... Not necessarily Lilia, right? We're getting some messed up stuff, I'm sure. You'll see what I mean when we get to it, okay?
See, Lilia is also like, Zenith, I've kind of given up on a little bit because we got quite a bit, right?
Yep.
Lilia and like Ghislaine, like all these old characters that we haven't got more of. I'm just like, come on. Gimme. I want to know, like I feel like if I was to do a small character video, I think maybe on Linear that could work because
Wait,
she's
Lilia,
like
right?
Lilia, sorry, not
Okay.
Linear. So I keep on getting that wrong. I just
Mm.
learned it for the video, but I'd be like, Mushoku Tensei's most messed up character. Bang, front cover. It
Yeah.
was like, how? What's wrong with the maid? And then it's like, hold on, this is all.
You
Her
don't understand.
mentality is like,
Yeah.
'cause I go read back like a young chapter, and then she's like, yeah, this guy raped me. So I'm gonna go say hello to him
Yep.
and work for him for the rest of my life, and then want to force my daughter, who is his stepsister,
Yep.
with him. Yeah, sounds about right. Sounds good. Let me
Yep.
groom my own daughter. Uh, yeah. So anyway, gotta love it.
Oh, what was I gonna? Oh yeah, yes, true. Very
That's a
true.
great video
Yep,
idea.
it is. Yep. I hope you make it. It'd be great. I can imagine the
Okay,
thumbnail.
yeah. As much as I meme on the foursome, it was like it is. I think when initially Roxy and turns up and gets married to Rudy, I had my questions. I was like, are they going to throw these characters to the side? And maybe it would be more impactful if it was just one of them, right? And they stuck with them. But even in this final fight, like all of them did their thing. Like even Roxy got a very small moment.
Yeah.
All of them got an illustration, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. Very true.
And yeah, I don't know. I think, yeah, as I said before, it's cringe, but Mushoku Tensei does his best to recover. It's fumbling. It fumbled the bag, and you can't recover. But it's like that thing that, like, he falls with a bit of grace.
It is.
But yeah, I mean, it is a cute scene.
Yeah.
Like it's like he's like, Eris, we gotta go, and he like has like the word. What was it? He was like, do you want to take the day off?
Oh,
I
yes.
thought that was cute. That was cute.
Yeah.
So,
One by one, they're realizing, and yeah. Yeah. I guess more on this. Just talking about this relationship stuff. I think that it does, like you've said, it does as good of a job as it can, and it's just it bothers me so much when I hear people like Miller, for instance, who doesn't know anything about the story, when they take this one element of the story, this like I guess like harem kind of relationship, and they discount the entire story because of it. It's a shame, because I think it does good enough of a job where I truly think that most people would appreciate this. Like they would see this and they would think that it's at least like done decently well. But I know there's a lot of people who, as soon as they see it, they're not just like not interested in it. They think that it's like bad. It's like it's like, I don't know how to say this. Like there's a lot of annoying kind of things that when you hear it out of context about Mushoku Tensei, it kind of, I can understand why it would sell people on it, but it's a shame that it does. I don't know. Anyway, just my small thing.
yeah, I mean, this is one thing I'd love to get this into a video form somehow. So I'm going to just spill my thoughts here. There is a lot of baggage with the isekai genre. There's a lot of like expectations and tropes and thinking like, oh, here we go again, right? And I think what makes something cringe, I think, to a lot of people, without realizing, and feel free to call me on this, is it is when they can see the hand of the author. I talked about this before, and I think it's just when a story is so transparent in what it's trying to do, and you're not the target audience.
Yeah.
And for me, that is clearly what it is trying to do. It's like, we got this harem, we got a girl for every single, what you like lollies, you like mothering types, you like aggressive redheads or whatever, right? Like it's got something for you, and it feels trashy. It feels like, as a trip, it is a bit degenerate, and it's a bit like it's like a male power fantasy, right? And it falls into that, like, oh, of course we're falling in, like, and I think on top of that, I'm like, it's like in combination with all the other like things that Rudeus does that are problematic. I think when initially you watch it, it's hard to know if the author is condoning or condemning this, right? Like, and he doesn't do either. He doesn't really, like, it is now people don't get into a tizzy about this with like Berserk, but I think it's just because it's the isekai genre and it has all these trips and all this baggage. I think it's also Japanese media, because it's just like people like think, oh, Rudeus is such a he's an awful person, right? Like you have to be like, oh, I'm not looking up to him. Like you have to like clarify that almost.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I don't aspire to be this guy. And I think it makes sense because a lot of these things are written for people to aspire to be. And I think what gives Rudeus they kind of and I'm not entirely convinced that like the reason why people love the series and the reason why I brought up the subreddit earlier is like people like what do people outvote? What do people like it is all the girls. It is the harem. That's at the core of most of these his best girls. It's the waifus. It is the anime classic like degeneracy, shall we say? And I don't mean to like, hey, let me say like if you read Mushoku Tensei for that and you love the story for other things as well, more power to you. I'm not trying to shame you or whatever. Like that's not my goal. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm better than you because it's a personal ick of mine. And I feel like with that, like there's so much more judgment around that, but it isn't wrong. Like, but at the same time, like if you look at Berserk, it is pretty. It was also pretty like when it draws the eclipse and Kasuga like getting that done, it's foreshadowed so many times that you're like, is this just not objectification? Like at some point, you know, like it has. Now I've not read Berserk recently, but like that's what I remember from it. Like, oh, you've literally got like a penis demon that is gonna like bait rape, you know, Kasuga at some point or whatever. Like there's questions about like, is this genuinely like what are you trying to do here? Like, and it's like there is a certain like fan service or like trying to please like the audience. It knows what it's doing and it's like trying to have its cake and eat it too. And I think it's hard. It's hard because I was my main idea. I really want to compare Mushoku Tensei's reception to Vinland Sagas because you say I like Mushoku Tensei, people just like like, oh yeah, it's really good, or they're like, oh, cringe isekai kind of thing, right? But if you go to ask anybody about Vinland Saga, everybody's going to be like, man, Vinland Saga is the GOAT. It's absolute cinema, Scorsese meme, right? And the thing is, though, like when you think about it objectively, Rudeus is a way better human at the start of his story than Thorfinn is, right?
Yes.
Now you could say Rudy is an older man and he should know this, and you know, like arguably, like Thorfinn was groomed for violence, but who does everybody love at the end of Prologue? It's Askeladd. Like everybody, like there's a couple of people like, oh, I don't know if I can like Askeladd, and fair enough, right? But like everybody's like, man, Askeladd's so cool. Or a lot of people in the fandom of Vinland Saga are like, wow, he's so handsome. I'm gonna like write my OC with him. I'm like, more power to you. I'm nothing against that, right? But that like either Askeladd is getting sexualized as like a daddy figure because he's very handsome and charming and witty, makes absolute sense. Or he's like, man, he's so cool. Like he goes around, he does what he wants, and he kind of kills the king in the end. And it's like, hang on, like everybody's forgiven Thorfinn for what he's done wrong, right? And everybody like wants Askeladd to be good, but at the end, Askeladd just lives out his power fantasy of killing all the Danish people. Like in this final scene, everybody's like, that's so cool. It's like there's so much more moral judgment against sexual things and effectively grooming and pedophilia, and then murder, and it's mass murder. And it's like, yeah, maybe it's because Thorfinn in the anime is portrayed more sympathetically than he is in the manga. That could be it. Like, why does everybody get on this? And I think the reason is this. I think partially because definitely in recent years, we know on the internet there are massive issues with grooming and pedophilia. There's all these things about like the Minecraft community, or like, I know in the Smash Bros community, like the fact that you have like a degenerate that is into this stuff and it's all over Japanese media, like the sexualization of definitely younger girls as well, right? There's even like the rose tinted glasses of like waifus are always like high school students, and you're like, who is watching this? Are high school students watching anime? No, it's like otaku in their 30s, right? Probably. I think I saw some stat on that. Could be wrong. Could be just talking. It's like, and you think there is like a perniciousness there, and I think it's because like in our world, murder, pillaging, and rape, that Viking time is so distant that it's like it's way more easy to like separate. But now, like when you've got a YouTuber who was grooming a kid, or you got Dr. Disrespect doing whatever he's doing, or you know, or Mr. Beast or whatever, like it feels closer to home. And when you got a culture of media doing this, like even in like a Miyazaki movie, like I can't get over that. Like I love Porco Rosso as a movie, right? Great movie, but there's like a 17-year-old girl that like is like kind of flirting with like being the love interest of like this 40-year-old main male protagonist. And I was like, hold on a sec, like you know, like just age her up a bit. Like why do we have this? And then you have the whole culture of lolicons and stuff like that. So I feel like there's a much more like, while like theoretically on like a moral level, like Thorfinn or Askeladd are far worse human beings, right? There's something more tangible, and you're like, I think, but and like you could even make the case like people think that people would aspire to be Rudeus or be like, oh, like in Rudeus' shoes, and yes, but doesn't Vinland Saga also does do that? Like when you're like, oh yeah, Thorfinn's so cool. There's so many people that think Thorfinn's cool and then drop the series because they're like, wow, Thorfinn's not killing anymore. I can't believe it. But maybe it's also because like Vinland Saga is so much more critical of that stance. It's so much more like, no, like from the start it's obvious that like, but then reading the light novel, like Rudeus, like in the first volume, he said he was a garbage human in his past life. He was an awful human. Paul's a garbage human. Like he uses these things, and there's like uses that as like a hypocrisy tool for Rudeus later. And like even later on, like like yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have anything to say to that. Like I'd love to get that in some sort of video and not get cancelled and have it interesting.
Yeah.
When I'm like murder's not as bad as pedophilia. I feel like somehow that I don't feel like that.
Well, it's
Or
like
murder's worse than pedophilia. I feel like just bring that up would be like touchy. You have to say it in the right way to.
The thing is that it's like see, I don't know much about ethics or like how to talk about morals or whatever, but it would be the philosophy that like I think you even said this, which is that like murder is a distant thing. You don't expect someone to read Berserk and then murder people, right? Or read Vinland Saga and then go to murder people because it's no one would do that in this world. You can't get a sword and go and kill people, right? I mean you can, but it's like very unlikely to inspire anything. Whereas something like I don't even, it's not even that relevant, but something like Mushoku Tensei, it could inspire someone to try and groom someone, right? Like how Rudy tried to groom Sylvie. Like that's something that could realistically happen. You're not gonna get a sword like in Vinland Saga, but you could try and groom someone, right? But the thing is that I feel like it's just in Mushoku Tensei, I don't think that I just don't even. No, if anything, it's portrayed as neutrally. Like I don't think that anyone is reading the beginning of Mushoku Tensei and is like, oh, I guess we should groom sword. Like so, it's just strange to me.
I think that's the hard thing. It's just it doesn't signpost it as bad. So then there's always plausible deniability that it could be promoting it. If that makes sense. So like you're watching it.
Sure.
Like I'm watching Mushoku Tensei. I'm like, what is it trying to say here? And I think you can totally understand when you take the reading that like this guy is an awful human being and he needs to reform. But then there's like nuance to that. Like it's not like as strong redemption. I don't think even that's the core of Mushoku Tensei. Like Mushoku Tensei isn't like, dude, your sexual desires are wrong. It's more like go hang out with normal people and you become more normal. Maybe that's like what Mushoku Tensei's theme is, like make friends. Like that's it. Like you have this whole entire last chapter here. And this is my favorite one where you have this like zero epilogue and it kind of like spills the beans on like this story and what it's meant to be. Like this is Rudeus explaining what Mushoku Tensei is about in some example, and like it doesn't really come up. Like there are small subtle themes, right, and then you got sub themes, right, but that's the main core message, and it doesn't really come on that. It's like try and be a more well-adjusted person, but at the same time it uses the fantasy trope of being like, well, to be honest, young women that look younger than they do always exist, but it does use the trope of, oh, this is actually like a really old, this is like a mature person in like a kid's body or whatever, and there's always problematic tropes, and I don't think it bothers me that much because it's just so pervasive, but I think it's more just like, it doesn't directly admonish the culture it is. It just does much more interesting things and more genuine things with it. But and I think that's probably where like Vinland Saga lies. But then I'd say like Berserk I don't think I'd like really like, I'd have to read it again. I don't know it that well. But like Berserk, I think did get criticized, but now it's like, oh, if you say you like Guts, no one's gonna be like, oh that's cringe, man. Right, but then going with particularly like Guts has done some really awful things. He's a very problematic character. Like, okay, he's trying to keep on going. There's very admirable things, but is that anything different to Rudeus? Rudeus is a struggler. He keeps on going. Like, he works really hard. Like, he tried to be better. Like, so I think maybe it's just like the culture of isekai is too close to isekai, or maybe someone in the comments has some ideas as well. But I think that's a genuine look, because I do think, of course, there's rage baiters on Twitter that wouldn't dismiss it, or Cal jokingly and Miller jokingly calling us pedos or whatever. And I do think there is something that is off-putting like about the harem, but Mushoku Tensei, for me at least, was able to make that just like not be in the front of my mind when it is going on, right? Even though it is going on. And I don't know. I mean, it's really hard, and it does make the story harder to recommend, because it does feel like, I mean, if I was to say Mushoku Tensei, if it wanted to go for something stronger, maybe it could go for something stronger, but I think it's probably trying to communicate to people to go out in the world and do stuff. It's a very basic message, but it's like go out and do stuff. Don't be an otaku. Don't be a shut-in.
Yep.
But I don't think it necessarily does that so strongly that you couldn't take away that message. Like, and I think a lot of series do that. To be fair, it's not like a Mushoku Tensei issue. Like Vinland Saga is actually, I feel like, somewhat unique, where it kind of just takes your face and rubs it in it, and it's like, hey, no, this is the story. This is the story. Like, and that's because Yukimura, as a writer, was like, oh, I read my first manga and people didn't seem to get the theme, so I want to be so explicit with it that you can't. Doesn't mean that it's not nuanced. It's just like you can't avoid it. Like, I will not give you any satisfaction. And then when I do give you satisfaction, I will reprimand you for it. I don't think Yukimura is necessarily, it may not be that perfect, but like that's the idea. Like even in the most recent chapters, people are like, if only Thorfinn started fighting, and you're like, how are you this far in? I understand the urge, but that's like, no, that is not the point. You know? So I don't know. Anyway, it's an interest. I just think it's fascinating. I love the meta stuff from like how people like, you know, with Vinland Saga, I've also wanted to make a video on like kettle and how people, you know, like I mentioned earlier that like I made a kettle meme. The meme is like people were like, oh, that's so cool, and then Kettle comes along and be like, oh, Kettle, he's a slave owner, he's the worst person ever. Like I'm just like, understandable, right? Because we feel betrayed by his character, and like, but I just think that morality, that double standard, is interesting. And why is that? Like, why does it hit closer to him? Because from my perspective, morality isn't a logical thing for people; it's an emotional thing. Like people look at something and goes, oh, yuck, I don't like that. Like there's something like intuitively wrong about that. People don't think, oh, does this logically match onto my moral ethics, you know, my ethical standard or whatever. Like people don't think like that. I don't think like that, right? And so there's something more real there of why people feel that way about certain characters, and what the story has done to make you feel that way about certain characters. So yeah. Anyway, that's like a whole grander topic, but yeah.
Bacon, I couldn't possibly. I don't know what to say to that. Besides saying it's very interesting. And you should absolutely make.
Well,
a
I'm
video
glad you
about
think
it.
it's interesting.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Okay. I don't even. Yeah. Very good. Very good, Bacon. Excellent.
Yeah. I mean, I think ethics and like how people approach it are very interesting. Yeah. Like, okay, one more tangent. I recently watched the Mr. McMahon, sorry. He's like the wrestler, WWE CEO guy, right? They had a Netflix miniseries on him, and I didn't watch wrestling when I was younger. But basically, they had this thing called the Attitude Era, which is like the end of the '90s into the early noughties. And the stuff they were showing on TV was like, it was very funny because it was like completely, it was degenerate. Like it was objectifying women to a massive degree. They come off and they like strip them basically as naked as possible. And it's just like complete fan service and like raunchy and it was one of the biggest things ever. And I was but then the funny thing is that they wouldn't swear. Like they were like, yeah, suck it. And I was like, they were like doing like whatever, like, but it was kind of weird because like nowadays, like you can swear your words, but it felt like a bit more cringe because they were like, you're willing to do all this raunchy stuff, but because of TV rules, like you couldn't swear on TV or whatever. You can, maybe they did. I don't know. But it's this thought, like, because recently we've had the whole blow up about KSI, Logan Paul, Mr. Beast. Like these guys are badly influencing children. And it's a great video because he's the GOAT by Vsauce called juvenoia, which is like a term coined like about paranoia about the juveniles, the youth, and what's going to happen. And I was thinking, you know, like, okay, there's different struggles, but is Mr. Beast really that much worse than what I was seeing being showed on Monday Night Raw and being super passionate? Maybe it was like ruining kids' attention span or something like that. But like, in terms of ethics, like, it's not that much worse or whatever. Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, it's just another thought, like the whole like ethical state people find themselves in and reacting to and so on. So anyway, rant over. Hope people found that interesting. I don't know. I don't feel like I've been talking that much this video.
No, that was great.
I was waiting to cook at the end.
Yep. Okay, Bacon. So with that, let's move to the final few chapters of this amazing series. Okay, so we have Rudy waking up in the White Void world. At this point, he still has his old self's appearance. Okay, he's still fat and all that, old world Rudius appearance, but he isn't disgusted by it anymore. He's changed a little bit. Now there's something to say here about, actually, you know what? I don't want to, actually, I'll save that for another time. We can talk about it at the end, I guess. The man god.
He's still hiding secrets from me. I can't get it out of him.
Yeah, we'll get there. When redundancy is done, we'll have covered everything, okay?
Wow.
Anyway, what was I going to say? Okay, the man god he's been split into pieces in barriers. He's been bound by translucent chains, and there's like people that are watching him in the distance. So he basically talks to Rudeus. He says, if I die, then the human world might disappear. So they've basically locked me in isolation forever. Just like Rudeus in his previous life. Oh my god. Yeah, the more interesting thing here is that Rudeus looks to the people around there, and he sees one face that he recognizes, and it's Orsted, and he has a big scar on his face. Oh my god, what could have scarred Orsted? That's crazy.
Must be Laplace, right?
It has to be, I assume, because also the fact that he didn't heal it means that it's probably some like dragon technique, Laplace, I don't know, or demon technique. I don't know.
I think I also question, like, is the man god just like Geese, where he's just useless, like he just get destroyed straight away, and once you actually get to him?
I feel like probably not, because Orsted talks about how he needs the mana for Laplace, for the final fight.
I see, yeah. Because he's gotten past Laplace before, but he spends too much on it to kill the man god. Yeah.
So he must be pretty powerful. But yep, Orsted's there, and then slowly Rudy sees more people. He sees that Lara is there. Oh my gosh, how exciting, with Leo. And he sees this like Japanese-looking guy who's like bowing towards him and looking at him, and it's like, oh, who's that? I wonder.
Well, it's interesting because like Lara mutters and like, oh, there he is, or whatever.
Oh yes.
And I don't know. And I don't know if this is like old Rudeus here or whatever, because it's kind of like suggested that like Rudeus is traveling in the future here. Like this is an interesting thing. There's like the man god's showing him or something like that.
You know what?
He dies before they kill him.
Yeah, my interpretation here. Okay, firstly, like a grander interpretation of all this stuff at the end is that when in the present day, like when Rudy's like 34 years old or whatever, Lara takes off the bracelet, which then allows the man god to take over Rudeus's mind, basically. And in that moment, he shows Rudeus the next bit where his bracelet is taken off, which is when he's 74 years old and dying. And then when he is 74 years old, he then takes over his mind again and shows him the vision of him in the future here. So what I think is happening is that the man god, I don't know how it works time-wise. I don't think it's impossible to make time travel stuff work, but the man god is basically bringing the 34-year-old Rudeus to the 74-year-old Rudeus to the void world to see the point in the future where he is defeated. And because he is actually speaking to Rudeus in this physical void world, and Lara seems to be there, maybe she can see him, because maybe he actually does summon them into this void world. Maybe physically they do travel. Or maybe it's like a mental projection or something. I don't know. It's some headcanon I can think of, but...
So this is young Rudeus here.
I always assumed that this was 34-year-old Rudeus technically, but it could also just be the 74-year-old.
So I assumed it was the other way around.
Okay. Well, okay, before we... I guess it's...
I assumed that like the bracelet was taken off by great-granddaughter.
Yep.
Because, and then that also triggered his memory of being taken off when he's 34. Because he remembers being 70 and having it taken off, but he doesn't remember being 34 and taking it off. That makes sense?
No.
So it's almost like the reverse Aaron.
Wait.
So like we started the furthest point in the future and then we work our way back.
Okay, wait, how about describe it like this? So there's the Foursome, okay? What happens then? Do we skip forward till he's 74 years old and then we're following that Rudeus?
Yeah, so he's the bracelet was taken off in his sleep, and so he's like seen the man god and he's shown the future as he's 74.
Yep.
And then what happens actually after then he dies.
Yeah.
And then he regains consciousness again. It's like I'm thinking it's almost like when I know we're like spoiling a bunch of stuff, but it's when Aaron like shows them all the memories of them in their past, like him talking to them, like, he's like wiped them and he reinstates them. It's like he's lost consciousness, and then like now he's remembering, like he woke because when he's 34 he remembers what happens when he was 74, and so that means the 74 must have happened before he's 34, unless the information was like it's only at this moment that his 34 self remembers. Or actually what could happen is that he remembers it when he's 34, from when he's 34, but because he's got dementia now, which seems to be quite obvious,
Mm-hmm.
Like he like his mind's fading. Like he's forgotten this stuff when he was 34. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No,
But
I think you are.
anyway,
I just think I have a very different interpretation.
yeah.
I think the man god is purely manipulating him when he's 34. I don't think we ever see Rudeus when he's 74, except for the final scene where he's in the void world. That's my interpretation, I guess. Like, I think the vision of him in the future, surrounded by people as he dies, I think that is a vision shown to him by the man god. I don't think we ever truly get that scene. I think it is true. I think it does happen, but I think it's the man god showing him his future. But yeah, I can see I can see your interpretation as well. That could work as well. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so he loses consciousness and then how? So then he wakes up in bed again when he's 34.
Yes.
No. He loses and like his eye closed, and just like that, I was gone. When he woke up, he was 34.
Mm-hmm.
And he visits goes, "No, I leave when he was gone." Then he set back off to the house. The world after death. So yeah, so I guess like he doesn't go back to sleep when he's 34. So it seems like he sees it all when he's 34. That is true. I was assuming this was like, I want to make a Bible reference when it's like Jesus was being tempted by the devil in the desert. It's like he was being shown all these visions. It's like, here's your family. This is what you see. This is what you love.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah.
I'm going to try and get you at the last moment to get one over you. Like, this is why the man God's showing him it all, right?
I do like that interpretation, yeah. You're saying that,
But
like,
then
after
he
gives
also think there's
up-
something interesting
go
about
ahead.
the man God showing him winning, though. I think that's the interesting thing, though. Like, why does the man God show that he wins? Like, why would the man God show him that vision? So there must be something to the man God there, which is probably what you're talking about with the redundancy. So you don't understand.
Wait,
anything,
no,
right? Don't
let's
worry.
not get
I'll protect
crazy.
you.
Okay, that wasn't exactly what I was saying. Yeah, I don't know. I do like the interpretation where it's like, Rudeus is 74. That's the true timeline we're following. And the man god is trying to get at him. And then when he fails, they have the actual final scene where he's like walking in the void world past him. I like that. That's not mine, but I do like that.
But the interesting thing though is that earlier in, was it 25, was Rudeus his old self in the void when he talked to the man god when his thing slipped off because he lost his arms to Galfarion?
So the first time, the only time and the first time we see him as his true new self, Rudeus, is in the final scene. Other than that, he is never in his true self. He is only always his
but
past
there's ambiguity on whether Lara sees his Japanese self. He must have been his Japanese self, because then
that's interesting. Yeah.
So he must have been his Japanese self when he was shown in that void, right?
Yes.
And so the Japanese man then bows to him because he recognized, that's Japanese.
Oh,
naked
yes.
fat man over there.
Yeah, probably.
But Lara's also recognized it.
Well,
She
Lara
says something
might
to him,
just...
And then he reacts.
Yeah. I mean, Lara's a bit special, so maybe she's just knows or whatever.
I mean, I don't know if it comes up in the redundancy or not, but I think that's another plot point that's not resolved. It's how does Rudy tell Sophie and Roxy he's from another world?
Yeah, we get a little. The only thing we really get in this is that at the end, the diary is what we hear, and he explains it all there. And
it's
all
all
if it gets translated, yeah. But you're right that we don't.
Sorry that you've put all this effort trying to translate. I have no secrets for you. This is just my diary.
Yep.
Which I think is funny.
Yep.
Yeah.
But okay, but that was
anyway. I
really
thought
interesting.
All these scenes are super cute. I love it when people come in and he's like, "You took off that gauntlet. Okay, you can keep it." She's like, "Oh,
yeah,
phew."
that was really cute.
Sophie's there. Sophie looks older.
That's a very
still
grandpa
young.
thing, right? Where it's you think they're gonna yell at you, but no, you can have it. It's all right.
Yeah, exactly. And then Eris died. He asked, "Where's Eris?" You know what? Yeah, it kind of blends because he feels like he has dementia. Everybody's like, "Oh, we've explained this to him before." He's losing it.
Clearly, this is the moment. Everyone expects him to die. That's why they're all here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Orsted's in the background, and he recognizes Orsted because he saw him in his dream. And then he forgets where Eris is, and kind of it works quite well, from our perspective as someone who doesn't know. And then Roxy looks the exact same, which I thought was funny.
Yeah.
I
think the cutest thing here is when I have the line here. He was tall with silver hair and a scowl on his face. Rudeus, he said. Sir Orsted. The moment he appeared, the mood of the room changed. Was it tension, fear? No, it was more relaxed. It was reassurance and trust. Look at this. It's just... Actually, wait, that's not even the one. That's just part of it. The other half is when he jokes. Yeah, when he he basically is if I am an apostle of the man god, would you kill me? And he's like, of course I would. And then everyone's just laughing and is of course he's not actually going to do it. And this is to show that in the 40 years after what we've seen, Orsted, he values Rudeus's relationship above the goal of defeating the man god. Like it is he wouldn't even consider killing
He's
Rudeus
able to
here.
joke about it
Like,
now. He's like he's human. Like,
yeah.
yeah. I thought it was interesting because I guess they didn't cure the curse, did they say? But like Sophie doesn't seem affected by it, which I thought was interesting. Or
Yeah. He says like, yeah, we haven't cured it, but your family isn't affected by it. But you're like, I guess, grandchildren or whatever.
but Sophie is still there, so
Yeah.
Sophie must have just gone over it somehow.
Yeah.
Roxy must have gone over it somehow. Like I understand the kids, right?
Yep.
But
Yeah, very true.
maybe the curse wasn't actually a curse. Maybe once he made friends, everybody liked him.
It's, you know what? It's not impossible, Bacon. Like that's a very Mushoku Tensei thing. It could happen. But we'll never know for sure.
Yeah. Remember when I was like, Align Liza's curse is BS. Okay, that's another thing. It is. You know exactly what they're doing. They didn't give the male elf, super sexy elf, with abs on display. You know, one thing I was thinking the other day, I was complaining about, you know, like Ghislaine's like character design is cringe. It's like a cat woman, and of course she wears no armor, right?
Yeah.
You know, with like the worst. I mean, the coat's cool, but then it's like, what is going on with the top? I don't get it. It makes literally no sense. It's like the least useful thing. Like, it's not keeping anything in place. But then I was thinking to myself, you know what? You know who's also topless when they fight? Basically, Ruijerd, my favorite character. And I didn't think of it once. I'm such a hypocrite.
Yep.
But yeah, I was like, I was going to make a point. I was thinking about this video for the video. I was like, Mushoku Tensei's cringe. But then Ruijerd's like that as well. I think he may be the only one. But yeah.
Oh, there was that one fight with Orsted didn't have his shirt on because Rudy ripped it off when he was fighting. We got that one illustration.
That was pretty hot.
Yep. All right.
Bacon,
let's 20 minutes left. All right. Yeah. So,
well, yeah, we'll see.
Well, you know, Bacon, we didn't say it explicitly, but firstly, there's two things. One, the first volume illustration of first volume cover compared to the last one, it's like a very direct parallel. You know, Rudeus is surrounded by a bunch of people now.
And the 13 cover.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's like a midway through, you kind of get that progress check, you know. But here also, this is like when he's old on his deathbed, he is surrounded by so many people that they can barely fit in the room. It's like it is the complete contrast to his previous lonesome old life, you know. Yeah, I like that a lot. But yeah, now we get the 34-year-old Rudeus. So as the big thing is that 34 is the year when he died, like in his old life. So now he's lived just as much in this world as he has in his previous world. But Lara was she lied, you know. She's like, oh, you know, I wanted to see if you had a tattoo under that bracelet, but Rudy realizes that she was going to actually draw on the tattoo, so that was really funny. Rudy,
but why was she going to draw it on again? Sorry,
she probably just thinks it's like cool to like have a little tattoo that she's going to draw. We don't get like a reason for it, but the implication is that she wanted to just draw one on under there because it'd be cool or something.
I think it's interesting that like even he keeps going on even after. But he doesn't seem that mad that he loses it. But like, you would have thought, I've never seen Dad take this gauntlet off once. Let me remove it. Like, what are you doing, kid?
I mean, I can imagine a kid doing that. Come on.
Yeah, but Lara was like 17, wasn't she? Here, or 15?
How old would she be actually? 34. She would have been born when she was like 20 something.
Lara was 15.
Lucy was 17.
15, Lara was 15. Oris was 13. Sig was 11. I think.
Yeah,
that's the quote.
Yep.
Lily Grey Rat, Roxy and Christina Grey Rat. Was Christina another character?
I don't remember. Maybe there is another
Lara
one.
and Lily.
Yep. Cute names. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see if we get any more of them. Yeah, Rudy is working under the name Silent Seven Star because he promised Nanahoshi to spread her name. Ariel, here you go, Bacon. Ariel has a harem and she has 5 kids, and 4 of whom Luke doesn't know who the father was. So there you go, Bacon. There's your.
Just that you did get one, and my ship was not shipped.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Who does Therese get with? Better be in redundancy. We live in cope.
True. We should get like catch up with Therese and redundancy. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I guess we'll have to see. I know all the answers.
Why doesn't Therese come and live with them? Add one more to the family.
True. Therese... No, the harem. You want to fivesome? What do you mean? Or you just like live like in the place of Lily or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Jesus. Well, you're talking about marriage and stuff, and talking about like Therese. Oh my gosh, I don't know about that.
I hope we do get some more Claire and Carlisle. Oh, what a Chad.
What a guy. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, I guess for anyone listening, we'll probably do a tier list after the redundancy is done and everything. That's what we said.
Yeah. I'll also have a full explanation on my channel. I'll be even. All right. I was like, how did you only do this in 50 minutes? This tier list.
Yep. Well, it was my vague memory after like a year having passed after reading it. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. Well, I'm excited for that.
I mean, that's why we need to read stuff quickly, because otherwise I'm going to forget. It's going to be out of the brain.
Very true.
Then we're going to read like the light novel one, and then we're going to have to experience the web novel translation, which would be
true.
Tough.
Yep. Okay. Aisha and Norn got married. We don't find out who. There's a scene again, another one where I think the final scene here is like Rudy talking to Paul's grave. Classic, and Geese's grave. Geez, not gave. My favorite thing here is that he says that basically, he says, I didn't want to gloss over Geese's death, but a lot of my feelings over that time had faded over the past 10 years. What I remembered now was his smile. It's like, oh, he'd never truly, he didn't do anything. He didn't permanently, kill anyone. He slowly just forgot over time what the impact of.
I mean, that is crazy. No one died, but
yeah.
Power of anime. I don't need people to die and stuff I enjoy. So
yep.
Some people be like, "Oh my gosh, nobody died."
I mean,
I guess Paul the last big death. Yeah. What's his name?
Malta or Marta or something. I think in the official...
Marta. Yeah, exactly. That's how memorable he is.
True. I think Paul was the last big actual big thing.
It's kind of crazy.
Oh, I guess Pax, but that's not. We don't care about that much. Okay.
No, Pax was actually.
It was, but it's not on Paul's level. I don't.
Roxy almost died, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Claire almost got in prison. That would have been so sad. Anyway, so the final conversation. So Rudy appears finally as his present self, looking like the way he does in the new six-faced world. Wish we never explored the other 6 or 5 faces or whatever. We never talked about it. Again, pretty sad.
My theory was wrong.
Yep, very true.
Don't worry, it's coming out in the redundancy.
It'll be in redundancy.
Chapters.
Yes, I'm sure.
Redundancy chapters.
Yep, we'll explore the other 5 faces, I'm sure. Rudy finally appeared. Yeah, present self. Also, the man god has never seen him. That was kind of an interesting reveal, where it's like the man god only ever sees the soul, and he had never truly seen what Rudeus looks like up until this moment.
So he didn't see Batman.
Batman?
No, Japanese Rudeus.
Oh, Fat Man. Okay,
that was a bit rude of me. Sorry.
Jesus, I was just so offended. Yeah. But no, he had never seen him. Well, I guess he'd seen him in this. No. He can see him in this void world. So he had only ever seen the fat person. But when he's looking at him out of the void world, I think he's only ever seen his soul. So now that Rudeus's perception of himself has changed, now he sees him for the first time. Because in this void world, he sees himself as the new Rudeus. Yeah. All right. So, inspired by Rudeus, the man god has started building allies, but Rudeus trusts that his family will take care of themselves. He walks up to the man god, and he's far smaller than he thought. Another one of the size things that I always think is really fun. And in his final moments, Rudeus doesn't hate the man god and appreciates the struggles he created for him that gave him a fulfilling life. Yeah, interesting. I think it's very cool. Rudeus the magnanimous here, I'm kidding, by the way, but it is really interesting. I always found this really interesting, and I don't remember if I talked about this in a video or not. No, I don't think I did, but it is really interesting to have a final empathetic moment from Rudeus. And this ties into what I was saying before a little bit about like the man god kind of being a parallel to the unpleasant Rudeus in his previous life, who like didn't really care for other people that much. And it is like Rudeus having a moment of empathy here, where he's like, he says a line. He says, "Give it your all" or something, and it's kind of like he wants the man god to get better. He doesn't wish for the man god to suffer for all eternity. He like wants him to.
I just got that.
Did,
yeah. Like the message here, like to the man god from Rudeus is like, you need to give life your all, like, and if you work hard, you'll then be happy, like, kind of thing. So
it is a good wrap up to Rudeus's life here. Literally saying the lesson he learned, yeah, it's great. Then Rudy walks past him, slowly fades away, and doesn't turn back. And then we get a bunch of appendices, Bacon. So I guess anything you want to say before I just rattle off a bunch of small points in these that I've listed down for these appendices?
I mean, I feel like I said what I was going to say before, but I think this. Oh no, actually no, we haven't got there. But I do think this thing with it was interesting. He just walks past him. It's like complete contentedness from Rudy. He's completely satisfied. Very different state to how he was. It's like he beats the mad god before by being like unhappy and sarcastic and mad and being skeptical, but it's not the same. So yeah, go with the appendixes.
All right. So, a very
Like all the years.
yeah, we got like a semi-unreliable narrator kind of thing, but I've listed a bunch of stuff. So the first thing is that it's said in the history that he cried at his 10th birthday because his parents didn't show up, which is so funny because
Yeah,
we know that he was faking it, but yeah, it was great.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot that he faked it. I was like, no, he didn't do that.
Yep.
Lol.
No, he just faked it. And history thinks it's true, so that's really funny. People still think that he beat Ryder and Orva, which is also really funny. That's like in his
Crazy,
historical account. Oh my goodness. Roxy becomes the head mistress of the Magic University. Yep. Basically, I'm going to go through it. Bacon, cut me off if you want to say anything, I guess, at this point.
Go.
The president of the doll making company, Zainoba, I guess pretty obvious. Cliff became the Pope, Bacon. Did you believe he had it in him?
Yeah.
Yep.
Never any doubt.
All right. His funeral had over 5,000 people, and Orsted publicly attended. I guess that says something about Orsted. Roxy wrote up Rudeus' method of voiceless magic as a paper. The era of the sword fighter supremacy is over with the mana potions that were developed by Rudeus, or I guess Silent Seven Star is what they write here. Lily, which is one of Rudeus' daughter, develops a general purpose magic armor. Zainoba makes a magical figurine that looks identical to a human. Rudeus' diary was written in Japanese.
He makes like an actual doll though, right? As well, eventually.
Does he? Yeah, I think like
he makes like for the elites.
Oh yes, the magical doll that is like used for stuff. Yeah. I think if that's what you're saying. Yeah, Rudeus' diary was written in Japanese, so they're still trying to decode it. They call it the Book of Rudeus with like 50 volumes or something. Norn became a novelist. Oh my gosh, this is so cute. She wrote The Superd's Adventure, obviously the Ruijerd story. She wrote Aisha Greyrat, The Agonies of Genius. She wrote The Adventures of Rudeus the Great Magician. And she wrote Surrounded by Geniuses, an autobiography of mediocrity. So I thought that was very cute.
Really? Well, okay. That was just your video, huh?
Yep, absolutely. Surrounded by geniuses. Luke outlived Ariel, is also kind of cute. Alek became the left hand of the Dragon God because Rudy's the right hand. That was also cool. Then we get, as far as I understand, I don't remember quite well, but I think the Rudeus diary stuff is light novel original. I don't remember any of that, where he's like reflecting on if he ever like never got hit by the truck, there was always the chance that he could have like pulled himself together, and he's kind of really positive now about like the chances he had in his previous life and everything.
Yeah.
But Bacon, now we have Prologue Zero. So I know you wanted to talk about this. Firstly, did you watch my video on this? I said I know you watched a bunch of my videos. But
I did watch that, and I got sport on one redundancy thing. I think I got a little bit on some redundancy things because I've looked up illustrations basically, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I see. That's some of the illustrations or something.
Yep. Anyway, so Bacon, Prologue Zero. Firstly, before you say your stuff, I know you know this from my video, but I love this. Great chapter. But go ahead, Bacon. Yeah.
This was my favorite chapter because it just kind of summarized everything. I think what strikes me about Mushoku Tensei, which makes it feel earnest to me, is it kind of touched upon a lot of things that I've personally felt and thought about where it comes to privilege, hard work, and talent. You know, like if you guys have listened, you know, I asked Ari, do you know what you're talented at yet?
No, I do. You know what, Bacon? I think about it every now and then. I'm like, what? Bacon asked me that question. I don't have an answer yet. So sorry, Bacon. One day I'll have an answer for you.
Yeah, because I think for me, I don't know. I don't know how much I want to get personal, but I guess I'll get personal. If you can't tell by my accent, I'm a bit posh. I'm not like that privileged, but you know, I'm lucky, right? I would say like when I grew up, I didn't spend much money, but we never had to worry about money. Let's just say that, right? And I think, like the first school I went to, it was like a paid school, a private school, as they call it in the UK. And that's where I got my accent from, basically. And like that was, you're definitely around a certain type of person. Like there were kids from this that went on to Eton, which is like the super posh school, like basically posh boarding schools. I wasn't smart enough to get into them. I didn't pass the exams, so I went to like the local state-funded school. And there, once I went to that school, I'd gone from being maybe not as posh as a lot of the other people to being like literally one of the most posh kids, right? And it's something that you are very aware of when you are making friends and they come around to your house, and there's like a difference in like what is inside the house, you know, or like glamour and stuff like that. And I think there's something, and that's just even in like my same town. Like we're not changed towns. And it's something I also think like in regards to but you are. It's like there's certain things you're afforded in life, and you almost feel like, do I deserve it? Like, what? How does like? And this is like not even like privilege. I'm not even talking about like my skin color or my sex or whatever like that. Like not even this. Like the more, I guess, what people would get more heated about. But I live in a country where there's peace, where I have two parents that are together that love me, right? That I was privileged to have friends. I still have loads of good friends. I'm literally sitting here. As I said before, like I've read Mushoku Tensei, had a great time enjoying life. You know, I've got a stable income, whatever. Like there's so many things to be thankful for. But like how much of that is my hard work to try and get the grades, to get to university, to get, you know, like to come to university. Like with university, I felt like I didn't necessarily try that hard. I just worked consistently, you know, and I had good friends who were better than me, who could help me out when I needed them. So I kind of got carried, and but I came out with a good grade. But I know other people who I know are much smarter than me, much more studious, and they had harder. So maybe my course was easier, or what, you know. There's lots of things to like. I feel like personally, it's never crippling, you know. It's never like actual imposter syndrome, I don't think, but it definitely makes me like, you know, it's like I guess I check. I check my privileges. Such a loaded term, I guess. It's very political, but it's more like check your blessings, check your luck. Be grateful for what you got, right? And it's like something to be like, did I get there because I earned it or not, or you know, it's stuff that you kind of wrestle with, and I think it's just like it's something that you know I think about, right? I think it's a good thing to think about and keep yourself wary of where you're at and compared to other people, and realize how fortunate you are in some ways and how unfortunate you are in other ways. But if you know what you're fortunate about, it helps you not be so frustrated that you're not fortunate in other things. Like, for example, Ari, I don't know if you've ever, you know, if you have much troubles with this, but I'm not above 6 foot. I'm just an average height king. What can I say, right? You know, I'll hurt so much. I'm gonna be in, you know, whatever. Like, you know, like,
Right.
and
I
that's
can't
like pure
relate either,
genetics or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, being an absolute giant of heart and willpower that you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that's just an example. And like, oh, I could be like, oh, I'm not 6'3". I can't believe it. They have so much. It's so much easier for them, or whatever. I'd be so much better at rugby if I was bigger, or whatever. Or, you know, so or yeah, right. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff like that, but I think it just articulated quite eloquently in like almost like a. I'd have to read it again, but like in a way that only a story can, with its themes of like, you are lucky, everybody's lucky. It's easy to still get imposter syndrome, but not overcome it. But also like keeping that perspective, you know, like it's that balance. And I felt like this was the climax of almost that video I had. And anyway, hopefully, if I get down to making a video on it on the greatest part of Mushoku Tensei, I'd be able to put that in it somehow. So like say it more eloquently. I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but
Wait, okay. Yes, I understand. Wait, how does it relate to Prologue Zero? I'm so confused.
well, no, like Prologue Zero, he like talking about his life, and he like talks about hang on.
Wait, we talking about different things? Wait a minute. I thought you were talking about the chapter that I have on
no, I know this. Sorry, I'm talking about the afterword excerpt from Book of Rudeus.
Oh my god! Okay,
I thought that was Prologue Zero.
Okay, Jesus Christ. Okay, wait. Let me recontextualize everything you just said. Wait a minute.
Sorry, everybody.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Because what is it? If I were to give one piece of advice to those who follow in my footsteps, it would be whether you want to learn voice casting, unvoice casting, casting with magic circles, or whatever happens to be the hot thing of your day, then render, you must practice. You can practice the same spell over and over again until your head is spinning. Clever ways to use it. But I'm right, one was, like, anyway, sorry, that wasn't the thing I was thinking. But it's like he's just reflecting on, like, oh, maybe if I was, if I was more lucky, maybe I wouldn't work as hard. If I was born in a more privileged position and to nobles and had a more cushy life, would I have been in such a way? Yeah, I think that kind of resonates with me. It's like, okay, cool. I could have been born into even like a more wealthy and rich family and not have to struggle or whatever. But actually, where I'm born, like, being middle class, like, would I want to be upper class or upper middle class? No, not really. Like, I'm like, it's a thought that I've had. It's like, oh, would I want to be born in the royal family? Like when you were a kid, like, oh, do I want to be a prince? And I think I learned pretty quick. It's like, no, I wouldn't want to be a prince at all. Just because it seems like a pretty tough time. I wouldn't want to do that. Like, I'm pretty content how I am. Yeah, anyway, sorry. Prologue Zero.
Yeah, that's great.
I watched your video.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to say about what I was just ranting about there. But
let me think. No, I don't. No, I don't. Yeah, I think you've said it all very well. Yeah, I completely agree. Amazing bacon. Yeah, and it
Thank
makes
you.
so much more sense that you're talking about the diary stuff. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, sorry everybody.
All right, but yeah, that's. I mean, the only other thing is the actual Prologue Zero chapter, the epilogue. I mean, I've just said everything I could in the video. It's very hopeless, and this girl struggling. She summons a boy. The boy is not the chosen one. He dies, and she tries with all her heart to bring him back, and this is what causes Rudeus' reincarnation. I mean, I can just say what I said in my video, which is that this is a perfect wrap up to Rudeus' life because it shows that there was no reason behind his reincarnation. It just happened to happen. Yeah. He's not special. He wasn't like, his life wasn't destined to be great or anything. He just happened to slip through while someone more important was being summoned. And
who's that more important person? Was it Nanahoshi that was being more important, or was it the guy,
well, it depends
the guy that they wanted to summon?
Yeah, I guess it depends on your interpretation. I would say in this case, probably the guy is what it all revolves around because of the blessed child's like happiness that he gave her. But in reality, it was Nanahoshi. That's when they slipped through. But yeah. Anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah, well, yeah. So I guess it must. So I was thinking because they're trying to summon their chosen warrior from another world. So someone developed magic to transport someone from another world, and then Rudy slipped through that somehow. That's what I thought. But then, how does Nanahoshi get brought back? Is it because of her? Like the girl goes back in time, and that like she makes a wish or something like that, and then that gets called or something.
So my interpretation is that you've got you basically have. In this light novel, we get a lot of references, especially from Orsted and the Man God, about destiny, right? Destiny is like this path that you're meant to go on in life. Rudeus in his old life was destined to be stuck in his old room. That was just his destiny, everything in front of him. And it was very hard to get past that. And in this new world, there actually literally is destiny where people are fated for some outcome. And I see the battle in the end here. Sorry, I was going to say the metaphorical battle, but the physical battle, I guess, as well, between Lyria, the blessed child who can rewind time. She is battling against the laws of fate in this actual world. She's battling against destiny itself. And I would assume, like in this case, during this battle with destiny, she is creating fractures in like the actual, in a sci-fi sense, creating fractures in the gaps between this world and other worlds. And that's when Rudeus' soul slips through. And he, through his interactions with this world, because he chooses to actually interact with it and not stay in his room, because of the supportive environment around him that allows him to kind of leave the house, like Rox's influence, for instance, he changes the world. His like influence is so grand that it causes the teleportation incident that then allows Nanahoshi to come through and allows the blessed child to be given another chance at life. Or the final chance at life.
So it's because Rudeus went out and about. It because ruined the fate of the world.
Yeah, Rudeus chose to, he could have lived in his little village in Fitoa, like in the little house, and never left, and nothing would have ever changed. The world would have stayed exactly as it is. He would have probably just lived and died there. What you're saying is that
Paul is the goat.
No. I'm saying that Roxy is the goat, okay, for getting Rudy out of the house, okay? That's the actual
answer. Yeah, and Paul is the goat for throwing him out of the town.
I guess, yeah, technically. Yeah, you're right. Paul is the goat. He saved the entire... actually, what did he save? I guess he is the reason the Man God will lose in the end, I'm sure. But he also allowed the blessed child... another kind of implication here, which I kind of make a little bit of a reference to in the video, which is that there probably is no more destiny. I know Orsted is talking about all the past loops and they all tend toward a certain direction, and the Man God is talking about all the people with strong fate and everything. My reading of the end of this story is ever since Rudeus was reincarnated and he changed the lives of so many people when he was younger, I think there is no more destiny in this world. I think anything can happen. I think Rudeus's actions made it so that anything can happen at this point.
His birth was the turning point for the world.
Yeah. Well, his decision to leave the house, I guess, would be, which is the more thematic thing. But yeah. It's a good wrap up. I mean, I just say all this in the video, so go watch that if you haven't seen it.
I watched it, but I didn't actually get it after watching your video.
Yeah, that's I
want to ask him about it.
Yeah. I think it's like I got the thematic perfect wrap up.
I just didn't get the like the timeline stuff. Anyway, yeah, cool.
Anyway,
very cool. And then we get all the illustrations at the end. Like this volume ends at like page 130. It's amazing how much we talked about. Volume, but yeah,
it's a short one, probably the shortest of all of them, I think. But yep, Mushoku Tensei, Bacon. I mean, I was gonna say your final thoughts, but we're gonna be talking about it again when we talk about redundancy. But
Yeah.
what do you anything else you want to say? I guess grander speaking about.
Well,
Mushoku
I'd
Tensei
like to
as a
say
whole.
anybody who's watched all the end, all of these videos, I know we kind of made them, but we actually kind of accrued a bit of like a consistent audience, which is very nice to see. So thank you all for joining us. Hope
Yep.
you guys. Hope, I'm looking forward to make some content on it, but I promised lots of content, and it hasn't come out for 4 years, so
Mhm.
don't hold your breath. I definitely think I'll make like a tier list video and stuff, but maybe something more interesting. I don't know. But if you've listened to all of this, maybe all live, I won't say anything too interesting. We'll have to see. But yeah, I do feel like throwing stuff out there and chatting about it can help with the scripting. But yes, thank you all for watching. I mean, yeah. Ari, did you see my score for Mushoku Tensei?
You know what? I didn't look it up until during our talk here, and I looked at it and I found it. But yeah, go ahead, Bacon. What did you give Mushoku Tensei overall?
Well, what do you think I gave it?
Well, I mean, I know the answer. I looked it up.
Oh, yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah.
What is it? What is it, Ari?
You want to tell you? I saw it in the bottom left of the picture. It's right there. I saw it.
Yeah.
I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Impressive.
Which is basically the highest because I don't give 10 out of 10.
Yep. I'm very glad to hear this, Bacon. I say this every time, but yep.
Yeah, I mean, there are things that I don't like about the series. We talk about like the harem stuff. Like I do not like it, but it's counteracted and there's a lot of interesting stuff. I would say somehow what I would love to see more of, I would love to see Nanahoshi and what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see her teleported back, and like what happens, and maybe like a moment between her and Rudeus' brothers. I think that would be very cool. That's maybe like the only thing I actually do want to see. And it doesn't have to be anything special, but it'll be cool. So yeah.
Yep. I guess to say now we don't actually get that in redundancy, so don't get too excited.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want you to get too high for anything.
Big shame.
But maybe in the sequel series we'll get it, I'm sure, if that comes out eventually.
Cope.
So thank you everyone. I guess one thing is next time, I guess you can decide against me if you want here, Bacon, but I would say next time we should do Old Dragon's Tale. It's cool. A 7-hour audiobook, so like one of the longer-ish kind of volumes in length. We can make a nice shorter video about it, and it's a little break from the main story of Mushoku Tensei, I guess. Before we get back,
do you know we did the first 6 volumes in 1 hour, Ari? What crazy.
You know why? Because I didn't reread alongside you, so I had nothing to say. Okay.
Dude, the power of yaps is strong.
Yep, you had a lot to say. It was great. But that's it. That's it, guys. We did it. Okay. Thank you. See you next time for Old Dragon's Tale. Then eventually one day Redundancy, probably in the one after that. All right. Bye.
Bye.